Chapter 141. However, just as he was about to crush the ice flame, a huge purple light shrouded the sky. It was a huge purple lotus flower, vivid and lifelike. The petals unfurled and swirled in the wind. Waves of terrifying energy filled the lotus flower. Lightning swam. A destructive aura swept out in all directions. Qin Gang's sneer froze. There was almost no gap between the glazed ice flame and the purple star thunderbolt. Two moves came one after another. Rumble. Without giving Qin Gang any time to react, a deafening roar shook the entire Lucian faction and reverberated through the clouds. Purple light shone on the outer sect. The violent winds and huge waves were like an avalanche. The power of destruction destroyed everything in its path. With the two of them at the center, air currents surged and radiated in all directions. Two figures could be vaguely seen amidst the airwaves. His purple robe was in a mess, and his silver hair was dancing in the wind. Suyu was standing in his original position, completely unharmed. Qin Gang's clothes were torn, and his skin was dark red. His face was contorted in pain. Even if one's physique was as strong as that of the Dragon Realm, it would be difficult for him to withstand the stage one great perfection of a legacy technique. The Outer Sanctum disciples were deeply shocked. Suyu actually had the upper hand. Mo Wu's pupils shrank slightly. The amount of spiritual energy is 30% more than the previous time. Wang Xinxue was dumbfounded. In just a few days, the power of this move has increased by more than 30%. Suyu's naturally gifted spirit energy, coupled with the stage one top-class legacy-level technique, had a power that exceeded everyone's expectations. Feeling the prickling pain on his skin, Qin Gang was enraged. Humph! What can a small trick do to me? Qin Gang let out a furious grunt, his steel body once again charging toward Suyu. Furious dragon roar. A fist as strong and fierce as a flood dragon that had just emerged from the sea headed straight for Suyu's face. However, the moment he attacked, Suyu had already prepared his third attack. Heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. With a low grunt, Suyu placed his hand behind his back. He had prepared a long spear made from the fusion of icy flames and thunderbolt raging flames. The terrifying power of destruction circulated around the 3-meter-long spear. The dancing ice flame and the thunder flame danced with magnificent colors. As Suyu threw out his palm, it turned into a beautiful beam of purple and green light, piercing through the void. Pucci, the air exploded and the earth trembled. It was like a strike from the divine spear of heavenly punishment, causing people's hearts to tremble. Qin Gang's furious expression froze, and his eyelids twitched uncontrollably. It was a demigod-grade holy decree. A strong sense of threat welled up in his heart. The punch that was about to kill Suyu changed from offense to defense, protecting the vital parts of his chest. Just as he retracted his hand, the heavenly punishment of ice and thunder descended. Boundless flames rolled across the sky. One side was bone-chilling cold, the other was scorching thunder flames. The two heavens of ice and thunder fused together, erupting with an unprecedented, terrifying might. An earth-shattering rumble shook the heavens. Countless people even felt the ground tremble, and those who lost their balance were shaken to the ground on the spot. The terrifying aftershock shook the External Affairs Hall. The two bronze pillars, which had stood for hundreds of years, let out deafening whimpers in the frenzied airwaves. None of the Outer Sanctum disciples could maintain their composure, and all of them retreated in fright. The power of this attack had already exceeded the scope of their imagination. When the dust settled, a shocking scene appeared on the field. Qin Gang's arms were a mess of flesh and blood. There was ice and thunder flames burning, and in the more serious areas, even his bloody bones could be seen. A long spear with a dim glow was nailed into his arm, gradually dissipating. Qin Gang himself retreated dozens of steps, his feet leaving a long groove on the ground. Along the way, blood splattered everywhere. Qin Gang, who was known as the Angry Buddha, had been injured. This was something that only a fourth-level upper-tier Holy King could do. The outer sanctum disciples felt their scalps go numb, gasping. It was as if they had seen the king of the fallen star rise to a higher level, and they could only look up to him for the rest of their lives. So he was too powerful. He was so powerful that his pursuers were in despair. Wang Xinxue was filled with fighting spirit, but he felt even more helpless. He has become much stronger. It was the same heavenly punishment of ice and thunder, but its power had increased by more than 30% compared to the battle at the law enforcement hall. Mo Wu nodded. The power of this technique has increased by quite a bit. For the first time, Qin Gang revealed a shred of fear. If it was a normal fourth-level lower-tier Holy King, he would have died. He did not know that Suyu had not used the seal of time or the space manipulation. Otherwise, Qin Gang would not have had the chance to resist. If he had not resisted, the heavenly punishment of ice and thunder would not have been as simple as a light injury. The crowd's exclamations contrasted with Su Yu's helplessness. He was not satisfied with this outcome. If there are no accidents, the holy decree of ice and thunder will not progress any further, Su Yu muttered. The remnant of Purple Star Thunderbolt only had stage 1. Now that it had been cultivated to top class, there were no more lightning-based legacy-level techniques to cultivate. That was because there were no lightning-based legacy-level techniques in the sanctum depository of the faction. If the lightning-based legacy stopped advancing, it would be difficult for the holy decree to progress further. The heavenly punishment of ice and thunder could be the final form of the holy decree. It had to be said that this was a huge pity. His helplessness, in Qin Gang's eyes, was deliberate humiliation. He had only lightly injured Qin Gang, and he was still showing dissatisfaction. Again, Qin Gang was furious. It was fine that he was older than Su Yu, but more importantly, his cultivation level was higher than Su Yu's, yet he was still defeated. Su Yu looked up, his expression cold. Fine, I'll grant you your wish until you apologize to Senior Zhao Guang. He was ultimately not at the Dragon Realm. His physical body was only comparable to that of a Dragon Realm warrior. His overall abilities were only stronger than a fourth-level lower-tier Holy King, but not stronger than a fourth-level upper-tier Holy King. So you could deal with him with ease. However, just as the two of them were about to fight again, a female figure flashed out from the External Affairs Hall. With a point of her finger, she forced Suyu back 3 steps. Raising his head abruptly, a figure that made Suyu burn with unforgettable hatred was imprinted in his eyes. She, Ruo, Lan. Clenching his teeth, Suyu tried to control his urge to attack. It was her who had framed Li Guang for 100 years. It was her who had personally destroyed Li Guang's lifelong wish. It was her who had single-handedly ended Li Guang's life. One of his goals in entering the Lucian faction was to personally take her head and send it to Li Guang's grave. Shi Ruolan's expression was calm. She glanced at Su Yu and coldly scolded. Have you had enough? The External Affairs Division is an important place in the Outer Sanctum. How dare you mess around? After she appeared, she did not ask what had happened, but instead scolded Su Yu. His favoritism could not be more obvious. Su Yu controlled his murderous intent, coldly replying, Mess around? Fine. I will report this matter to the faction master. Let's see who is the one messing around. Lin Yin was not flustered. His lips curled. What a joke. Do you think the faction master is someone you can meet as you please? Furthermore, I have followed the rules of the faction. What wrong did I do? Whoosh. Under Lin Yin's confused gaze, Su took out a token from his robes. Lucian token. Lin Yin's expression was stiff, his lips trembling. A Lucian token that allowed him to make a small request of the faction master. This token had been popular 100 years ago. It had been gradually abolished, and there were not many left in the world. Without a doubt, this token still had its uses. If Su Yu held onto this token and ordered the faction master to investigate the truth, swallowing hard, Lin Yin was flustered. If the faction master were to personally investigate, it would be difficult to conceal the truth. Setting up a trap and disregarding human life was enough for the faction master to execute him on the spot. Even Qin Gang, whose face was filled with rage, shuddered violently as he discreetly backed away from Li Hao. Mo Wu and Wang Xinxue were shocked. Suyu was in possession of a long-lost Lu Xian token. The entire place was silent. Only Lin Yan's face was pale, cold sweat forming on his forehead. Even Shi Rulin's stern expression gradually eased. She muttered to herself for a moment. Why bother the faction master for such a small matter? The External Affairs Division will handle this matter impartially. Unrelated people, please leave. Shi Rulin calmly looked around, and anyone who was swept by her gaze would run away in defeat. The External Affairs Division controlled the Outer Sanctum. A word from her could decide the fate of an Outer Sanctum disciple, who would not be afraid. In the blink of an eye, only the 3 people from the External Affairs Division, Suyu and Zhao Guang, were left. Shi Rulin calmly said, "Everyone here knows the ins and outs of the matter. Suyu, if you wish to seek justice for Zhao Guang, that is fine. Lin Yin used public resources for his own personal use and should have been executed. However, if you are willing to let this matter rest, Zhao Guang can obtain a middle-grade marrow cleansing pill in exchange for breaking through to Saint Ruler. This is the greatest justice I can give you." If Su Yu and the rest were unwilling and insisted on letting the faction master handle the matter, the final outcome would be the execution of Lin Yan. Zhao Guang would at most receive 1 or 2 healing pills, not the incredibly precious medium-grade marrow cleansing pill. Furthermore, Su Yu would have to use his only Lu Xian token. "Tell me, who ordered you to do this?" Su Yu shot a cold glare at Lin Yan. How could someone as guilty as him dare hide the truth at this critical juncture? It was my brother, Li Hao. He ordered me to kill those close to you. Li Hao. Su Yu's gaze was ice cold. It looked like Su Yu had made his decision. Shi Ruolin retrieved a blue medium-grade marrow cleansing pill from her sleeves. She then expressionlessly led the 2 into the External Affairs Division. Holding the pill, Su Yu had an apologetic expression as he helped Zhao Guang up. "I'm sorry, Senior Zhao. I've implicated you." Zhao Guang's dull eyes looked at Su Yu, gradually regaining their luster. "Junior, Su, did Master have any last words before he died?" Su Yu was silent, clenching his fists. Before he died, he only hoped for one thing. Do not seek revenge for him and live on. Live on, Zhao Guang repeatedly muttered, 2 streaks of tears rolling down his cheeks. Su Yu forced a comforting expression. "Senior Zhao, don't worry. Someone has to pay the price for Master's death. I, Su Yu, will one day take the heads of those 2 as an offering to Master's heroic spirit." Thank you." Zhao Guang smiled as tears streamed down his face. "I am useless, Junior Su. All right, this medium-grade marrow cleansing pill is enough to help Senior Zhao break through to Holy King. If you have any difficulties in the Outer Sanctum in the future, you can inform me." So you placed the pill in Zhao Guang's mouth. The powerful effects of the pill immediately entered his body. At the same time as he broke through, it nourished his heavily injured body. A moment later, Zhao Guang gradually regained his composure, his injuries slightly healed. "Thank you for your kindness, Junior Su. Please tell me where Master's grave is." "I wish to leave the faction and guard his grave," Zhao Guang said mournfully. After spending a few months in the Outer Sanctum, he had realized that his path of cultivation was hopeless. He was already over 30 years old and had missed the best age for cultivation. Staying in the Outer Sanctum was just a muddle-headed dream. He might as well guard his master's grave and end his life. Su Yu was stunned. After a moment, he spoke of Li Guang's grave. He had made many enemies in the faction. He might not have the chance to save Zhao Guang the next time he implicated him. "Junior Su, take care." Zhao Guang cupped his fists, staring deeply at Su Yu before leaving. They had once met at the Forbidden Ruins, and they had the fate of entering Shunyue Island together. But now, Zhao Guang had to leave. Su Yu felt lonely as he looked at Zhao Guang's back as he disappeared into the faction. "Ah, what a deep brotherhood." A mocking voice suddenly came from behind. Looking back, Su Yu's eyes were ice cold. Li Hao. Li Hao stood at the entrance of the External Affairs Division with his hands behind his back. Zhao Guang is only the first. As long as it's someone close to you, I'll play them all to death. Let me think who will be next. Su Yu's mind was buzzing. Apart from Zhao Guang and Xiener, who was protected by the second elder, there was only one person who was close to him from Xinyue Island. Xia Jingyu, you dare. Su Yu's calm eyes were filled with killing intent. Li Hao laughed coldly. What? You want to kill me to prevent future trouble? However, his tone suddenly changed, and a cold, killing intent also appeared in his eyes. Sure, I'll give you a chance. Now, you and I will leave the faction and fight to the death outside. If you don't dare accept my challenge, I will toy with everyone close to you to death. Li Hao's venomous expression was sinister. Su Yu clenched his fists. His abilities were far from Li Hao's. But thinking about Xia Jingyu's frail figure, his heart clenched. Fine. Su Yu, will take your life. Su Yu's eyes were filled with killing intent. If Li Hao was not eliminated, he would never be at ease. Chapter 142. Even if he knew he was no match for Su Yu, he had to think of a way to kill Li Hao. However, at that moment, dang, the urgent and sudden sound of the bell echoed throughout the faction. Whoosh! In the External Affairs Division, Shi Rulin flew towards the source of the bell with a serious expression. Li Hao's cold smile froze, his eyes filled with shock. A serious and vexed expression appeared on his face, and he glared at Su Yu fiercely. Consider yourself lucky. He left in a hurry, not bothering with Su Yu. Su Yu's expression changed. For Shi Rulin and Li Hao to be so flustered, it must be something major. Dang, the second sound of the bell sounded more urgent than before. With Su Yu's enhanced vision, he could see countless terrifying auras emerging from the inner sanctum, gathering at the location of the bell. Even though he did not know what was happening, Su Yu did not dare delay and flew over. The sound of the bell came from an extremely wide hall. In the hall, there was a large golden bell gently vibrating. There were many people gathered by the sound. At a glance, there were hundreds of people, all inner sanctum disciples, all of them 4th level Holy King and above. In front of the large golden bell, there was an old man with an unfathomable cultivation base. He stood still with his eyes closed, giving off a fearful feeling. The scene of 100 people was completely silent. Even those who had entered to talk immediately shut up upon noticing his presence. Shi Rulin wore a respectful expression, standing in front of the bell, not daring to act rashly. The old man in front of them was the highly respected third elder, in charge of issuing missions in the faction. After a while, no one else entered. The third elder opened his old eyes. They were clearly elderly eyes, but they were unusually dazzling. The ringing of the Lucian bell this time was due to an emergency situation, issuing an emergency mission. The third elder calmly said. The people below the stage could not help but whisper to each other. The last emergency mission was last year, right? The invasion of other factions alerted the faction master, and the disciples who returned from the mission were rewarded by the faction master. I've heard of it too. 2 newcomers were highly regarded by the faction and are now core disciples of the faction, receiving endless resources. I'm so envious. What's there to be envious about? In that battle, the 2 of them killed the enemy leader and were rewarded, displaying their loyalty to the faction. It is only right for them to be heavily nurtured. Su Yu was tempted. If he wanted to participate in the ancient Xianyun temple, there were 2 problems. First, enter the top 100 of the sect. Second, he must obtain the sect's loyalty and recognition. Such a temporary mission was a shortcut to gaining the loyalty of the sect. It was something that could only be discovered and not sought. This opportunity must be grasped. Xiener's phoenix of death was gradually descending, and her life was in danger. So you had to find a phoenix blood elixir. If not, he could only watch as she died, or give her to Chao Xian to ruin. Now that he had the chance, he would never give it up. However, there were many people like Su Yu who saw an opportunity. Urgent missions were extremely rare. The third elder gently clapped his hands, and a young man in his 30s walked out from the back of the hall, his body covered in blood and wounds, as if he had narrowly escaped death. On his chest, there was a terrifying claw mark that had almost penetrated half of his chest. It was a frightening sight. Let him explain the situation, Third Elder said indifferently. The 30-year-old had a resolute expression. Although his injuries were painful, his expression did not change. He spat out a powerful voice. My name is Wu Qingzhou. I am a disciple stationed outside the abyss of Wudong. I am responsible for escorting the treasures excavated from the abyss of Wudong back to the sect. However, we were ambushed midway. 5 members, other than me, who managed to escape. The rest were all killed. Wu Qingzhou's resolute face flashed a trace of sorrow. My younger brother also sacrificed himself. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Wu Qingzhou was a 4th-level peak holy king, yet he managed to escape with his life. What kind of terrifying enemy did he encounter? Third Elder slowly said. 4 people were sacrificed. 3 of them were 4th-level peak holy kings, and 1 was a 5th-level holy king elder. This is a loss that our Lucian faction has never suffered in recent years. It is also a disgrace to the Lucian faction. Therefore, the urgent mission is to apprehend the murderers who attacked them. Third Elder's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Our Lucian faction has been silent for too long. It is time to teach some rascals a bloody lesson. Third Elder's beard and hair stood on end, his face full of anger. Now, I will issue this mission. We need 6 people to apprehend and kill all the murderers. Killing the 4th-level lower-tier Holy King murderers will earn you 5 honor points. Killing the 4th-level upper-tier Holy King murderers will earn you 10 honor points. Killing the 4th-level peak Holy King murderers will earn you 20 honor points. And killing the 5th-level Holy King murderers will earn you 100 honor points. If you capture them alive, the honor points will be doubled. The audience was instantly in an uproar. Hiss, what a terrifying reward. 1 honor point can be exchanged for a medium-grade marrow cleansing elixir. Killing a 4th-level lower-tier Holy King is equivalent to getting 5 medium-grade marrow cleansing elixirs. Oh my god, I worked hard for a year last year, performing various missions, and only managed to gather 10 honor points after much difficulty. Today's urgent mission actually has such a terrifying reward. If I gather 100 honor points, won't I get a legendary top-grade marrow cleansing elixir? The extremely high reward caused hundreds of disciples to be in an uproar. However, no matter how excited they were, not a single person dared to register, because everyone could tell that the elder did not say how many enemies there were, because he did not know how many murderers there were. Even the 5th-level Holy King murderers did not know if there was only one. Wu Qingzhou had escaped in a panic, so it was difficult for him to say how many experts the team had been besieged. The real purpose of forming the team of 6 was not to capture or kill the enemies, but to test the exact number and strength of the enemies. It was likely that the group of 6 would never return. Only a few would be able to return alive. The condition for accepting the mission is that the highest cultivation level is 5th-level lower-tier Holy King. Now register, the Third Elder said coldly. Everyone was shocked, thinking to themselves that it was indeed so. Why were disciples of higher cultivation levels not allowed to participate? The reason was that the participating disciples were too powerful, and the murderers might not be willing to show themselves. The goal of capturing and killing them would be foiled overnight. Only by forming a team of people below 5th-level Holy King could they lure out the murderers again. Hence, there was no doubt that this team of 6 was for scouting purposes. It was believed that there was an even more powerful team in the dark. Once the team of 6 had detected the exact strength and number of the enemies, they would strike like lightning and eliminate all of them. The team of 6 would not be able to get a share of those rewards that looked extremely tempting. They would only be sending themselves to their deaths, and there would be no gains. Hence, when the Third Elder said this, there was dead silence. No one signed up. Anyone with the slightest bit of intelligence or a bit of experience would have seen through the true nature of this emergency mission, especially those whose cultivation levels were above 5th-level Holy King. Their lips curled into a mocking smile. This time, the stage was theirs. The team of 6 was merely a stepping stone. The third elder's face trembled slightly. It was obvious that he had underestimated the intelligence of the disciples. As time passed, there was still no response. As an elder of the faction, he was a little embarrassed. "I will participate." In the silence, a figure stepped out from the crowd. Purple robes, silver hair, a calm expression. The third elder relaxed, but when he saw who it was, he was slightly stunned. Suyu? On the day of the wedding, the third elder had been at the scene. Naturally, he still had a clear memory of the silver-haired, purple-robed Suyu. But Suyu was only a third-level Holy King, and his abilities were too low. Even though he had only set an upper limit for fifth-level lower-tier Holy Kings and did not set a lower limit, anyone with a discerning eye would know that only fourth-level Holy Kings could sign up. If a third-level Holy King were to go, he would not even be of use as a stepping stone. But even though he was unwilling, he could not back down now. Since someone was willing to step out and help him resolve the awkwardness, how could he reject? "You. All right, count you in." The third elder sighed unwillingly, muttering to himself. Did no one tell this young lad that only fourth-level Holy Kings and above had to gather, and that those below fourth level were not allowed to participate? It was only when Suyu stepped forward that people finally noticed his peculiar existence. That's weird. Why would a third-level Holy King appear when all of us fourth-level Holy Kings are gathered? Why? Did you not recognize who he is? Suyu, the Suyu who defeated Chao Xian. Do you know him? It's him. His abilities are not bad, but he is still a youth. His experience and intelligence are lacking, and he could not see the hidden danger of the team of 6. TSK, unworthy of his name. When he grows up, he will be a simple-minded person with well-developed limbs. He will be tempted by a little temptation, and his mind will lose its cool. The possibility of him growing up alive in the future is very low. Hearing the discussions around him, Suyu was shocked. He really did not know that this was a gathering that only fourth-level Holy Kings and above could participate, as no one had told him. But how could Suyu not be aware of the hidden danger of this mission? To put it nicely, they were the vanguard, but to put it bluntly, they were the suicide squad. But Suyu had no other choice. The stronger team that was to be formed in the future would definitely only be fifth-level Holy Kings and above. Suyu definitely did not have the qualifications. To be able to join the team of 6, he had only managed to do so by accident, and was extremely lucky. His only chance was to kill as many enemies as possible before the arrival of the stronger team, to fight for glory, and to make a great contribution. Other than that, it would be difficult for him to gain the faction's trust in a short period of time. Just like what the second elder had said, even if he had a slim chance of surviving, the faction might not believe him, as life and death could be faked. Only by killing enemies for the faction could he prove himself. "I will participate as well." A refreshing voice could be heard. It was Li Hao. With a meaningful smile on his face, Li Hao stepped forward. He had come for Suyu. Such a dangerous mission was the best opportunity to kill Suyu without arousing suspicion. The third elder's eyes lit up, revealing a satisfied smile. "All right, the second person, there's still 4 more spots. I will reward the person with the greatest contribution with a chance to enter the depository of scriptures." Clenching his teeth, the third elder once again threw out a shocking reward. To a Holy King, entering the depository of scriptures meant that they had the opportunity to touch a legacy-level cultivation technique. Furthermore, if they had enough determination, entering the deepest part of the depository would give them a slight chance of obtaining a complete legacy-level cultivation technique. "I will go too." "Me too." In an instant, more than 10 people signed up, many of them mocking Suyu for being simple-minded and unable to resist the temptation. Legacy-level cultivation techniques were too rare, and the rewards were too tempting. They could not resist. The third elder had a smile on his face as he chose 4 people. The team of 6 was completely decided. 1 fifth-level Holy King, 4 fourth-level peak Holy Kings, and finally a slightly strange third-level lower-tier Holy King. "All right, let's go to the place where we were ambushed and find and kill the murderer." Chapter 143. The leader of the team was a 5th-level lower-tier inner sanctum disciple, Song Qingshan. He was muscular and wore a leopard skin coat, giving off a savage vibe. Many of the inner sanctum disciples secretly frowned. Song Qingshan was too powerful. Among the 6 of them, Song Qingshan would definitely be the one to return alive. If he killed the leader of the murderers first, they would lose some merit. Song Qingshan, I'll leave the team to you. You must capture and kill all the murderers, the 3rd elder solemnly instructed. Song Qingshan cupped his fists and respectfully accepted the order, his voice booming like a bell. Yes, but I have a request. Speak. The 3rd elder nodded. Song Qingshan glanced at Suyu coldly, his finger pointing at him. I want to replace him. This mission is dangerous. I cannot bring a burden along. Everyone was silent. Suyu is only a 3rd-level lower-tier Holy King. The rest were 4th-level peak Holy Kings. Replacing him would increase the overall strength of the team. A few disciples who wanted to join the team but had already filled their spots, their spirits lifted, their eyes shining. The 3rd elder also had the intention to replace Suyu, but he had personally promised Suyu to join. How could he go back on his word? Suyu is a rising star of the inner sanctum. You older generation disciples should support him. Just treat this as a training opportunity for him. Hearing this, Song Qingshan glared at Suyu with disgust. Of the 6 team members, other than Li Hao, who had ulterior motives, the rest were frowning. Suyu's gaze was calm, silently enduring the strange looks. Since everything is ready, let's go, the 3rd elder announced. The team left the faction and headed straight for the ambush. 3 days later, the Wulong Snowfield. The Wulong Snowfield was a snowfield that stretched for hundreds of millions of miles. It had existed for tens of thousands of years. The snowflakes that filled the sky never changed. The accumulated snow formed transparent icicles, like a vast mirror reflecting the sunlight. In the silent world of ice and snow, 6 people appeared in a glacier canyon. Their expressions were grave as they stood there for a long time. Broken limbs and remains were a shocking sight. Bright red blood splattered across the canyon. The coldness of the Wulong snowfield preserved the tragedy of that day. Not even their bones remained. What exactly happened to them? Song Qingshan squatted down to examine the remains below him. Only half a limb was left, the rest had been gnawed away. Recalling the huge claw mark on Wu Qingzhou's chest, everyone's heart shuddered. Other than humans, there might also be demonic beasts among the attackers. Suyu, immediately investigate the situation within a 50-kilometer radius. Song Qingshan did not raise his head as he ordered coldly. Suyu furrowed his brows slightly, but he still flew to the top of the canyon and looked down from the sky. Ever since the Red Dragon had been baptized, Suyu's eyesight had undergone a qualitative change. In the past, he could only observe the situation within a radius of 20 li, but now he could detect the movements of plants within a radius of 50 li. He scanned his surroundings. 50 li around him was dead silent. Other than the pure white snow, a few snowfield hares, wild wolves, and wreckage, there was nothing else. He flew back and said indifferently, "There are no signs of enemies within 50 kilometers. Are you trying to tell me that you can see the situation 50 li away with just a glance from the sky?" Song Qingshan's bell-like eyes were filled with anger as he glared at him. Suyu nodded calmly. Yes. The other team members looked at each other and frowned. Suyu, you'd better be aware that you're a burden. Since you're shamelessly following us, you should be prepared to accept orders. Humph. If you feel wronged, you can scram back. There's no need to be perfunctory here. Team leader, for our safety, it's better to expel Suyu from the team. I dare not entrust my safety to him if he's so perfunctory and careless. Clearly, everyone thought Suyu was being perfunctory. Song Qingshan's expression was calm. Suyu, I advise you to 30 miles to the northeast. There's a snow wolf chewing on a human bone. It should be one of our disciples. 15 miles to the south, there are 2 snow hares that fell into an ice ditch. 9 miles to the west, there's something. There are a few fresh footprints. So you stood in the air, looking at his surroundings as he spoke. But when he looked to the west, his expression changed. Only after a closer look did he realize something was amiss. Whoosh! Without waiting for Song Qingshan and the rest to react, Su Yu flew to the west, leaving behind a group of dumbfounded people. He can really see that far? One of the disciples was incredulous. Looking at Su Yu's receding figure, another sneered. I think he's taking the opportunity to leave. He knows he's unpopular in the team, so he's trying to find a way out and leave the team. Song Qingshan did not believe that Su Yu could see that far, but as the leader, he could not let his emotions affect his decisions. He said calmly, "It's better to believe it than not. Follow him, and we'll find out the truth." Whoosh, whoosh. 5 piercing sounds reverberated throughout the Ice Mountain Valley. A moment later, 9 miles away, Su Yu stood high up in the sky, his arms crossed as he pondered. The disciples who had followed him took a closer look, their expressions changing. There was a row of footprints on the snowy plains, a pair of human feet and a pair of giant demonic beast footprints. The footprints were the size of a small house, with remnants of a thick demonic energy. There really are footprints. His eyesight can really see up to a 50-mile radius. Shreds of shock spread through the crowd. Everyone's gazes toward Su Yu gradually changed. In the vast snowy plains, if one could see up to 50 miles, regardless of whether it was searching for the enemy or defending against an unknown enemy, its usefulness was immeasurable. In terms of importance, he was even more important than a 4th-level peak Holy King. Turning his head to glance at the crowd, Su Yu cupped his fists. My abilities are weak, so I will not burden you seniors. Let's go our separate ways. Farewell. Saying this, Su Yu followed the footprints to search. The crowd panicked. Such terrifying eyesight was irreplaceable for their safety and the ability to capture enemies. How could he just leave like that? But no one dared to ask him to stay. Along the way, they all had looks of disgust. They had even ordered Su Yu to leave the team without hesitation. Now that Su Yu had really left, how could they ask him to stay? Song Qingshan's face turned green and red. He wanted to ask Su Yu to stay, but he could not bring himself to do so. He could only grunt. No sense of teamwork. If he wants to walk alone, we'll grant him his wish. Don't come back and beg us. The faces of the rest of the people were burning. It seemed like Su Yu had been forced to leave by them. The ones with no sense of teamwork were them, not Su Yu. Let's go. Follow the footprints. Song Qingshan suppressed his anger, leading the team forward. But half a day later, in front of a canyon, the wind howled. The snowflakes covered the entire sky, covering all the footprints. In half a day, they had lost track of Su Yu, as well as the man and the demonic beast. Bad luck. Song Qingshan was extremely angry that Su Yu had left the team. Team leader, look within the canyon. There's a weak fire. One of the team members with sharp eyes quietly reminded. At that moment, it was almost evening. The faint yellow fire, under the reflection of the white snow, was emitted weakly. It could be Su Yu, but it could also be traces of the enemy. One of you stay here. If there's an emergency, be alert immediately. The rest of you, follow me inside. Song Qingshan calmly instructed. The 4 of them carefully walked into the depths of the canyon, arriving at the place where the fire was weak. It was a natural stone cave. Outside the cave, the cold wind howled, piercing to the bone. Inside the cave, it was peaceful, warm like spring. The fire was warm and cozy, but there was no one inside. Could have been left behind by Su Yu. The fire is still there. I believe he must be nearby. There was no one inside, and everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Song Qingshan looked around cautiously. After confirming that it was not a trap, he coldly grunted. Who cares about him? It's getting late. After a day of chasing, we'll rest here tonight. Everyone nodded. The sky was already dark, and it would be difficult to track the enemy. They could only wait until tomorrow. The group entered. Before entering, Song Qingshan looked at the entrance of the canyon. Amidst the wind and snow, he could faintly see a figure. He shouted, "Zhao Dan, come in." But the figure did not move. His voice was buried in the howling wind. Song Qingshan was annoyed. If Su Yu was here, he could see the entire situation. Would it be so troublesome? He opened his mouth to shout again, but he heard a tinkling laugh. Hee. He might not be able to hear you. Patter. A bloody ball of flesh fell from Song Qingshan's head, landing in front of his feet. Looking closely, it was actually a heart that was still beating lightly, and it was rolling with hot air. At the entrance of a canyon, the unmoving figure had also fallen. Zhao Dan had been killed without a sound or trace. Before he died, he did not even have the chance to scream. His heart had been dug out. Who could be so terrifying? Looking up, a lady in a snow-white robe floated in the air. Her face was beautiful and delicate, her figure alluring. Her loose, snow-white robe could not hide her wonderful figure. She should have been a beautiful lady in the snowy night, but the blood on her hands added a sense of eeriness to her beauty. But what shocked Song Qingshan was not the lady herself, but the giant creature beneath her feet. It was a giant snow lion with abilities as high as 5th level lower tier Holy King. The snow lion's mouth was filled with blood, and it was extremely fierce. Its eyes were filled with a cruel light. Interesting. I left for a while, and there was a group of people staying in my cave. You must be the disciples sent by the Lucian faction to investigate. The lady's eyes were cold, and she laughed meaningfully. Not good. Get out of the cave. When Song Qingshan saw the terrifying snow lion, he realized that something was wrong and roared. Trapped in the cave, they could not fight. They might be trapped inside. He himself turned into a sharp arrow, flying out of the cave. Of the 4 people in the cave, Li Hao was the most vigilant, and thus the last to enter. Hearing this, he did not hesitate and followed Song Qingshan to escape. Hee, it's too late to escape now. The lady's expression turned cold. Roar! With a furious roar, the snow lion beneath her opened its mouth and spat out a mouthful of blue gas. It looked like flames, but it was actually a ball of blue ice flame. Creak! The bonfire in the cave was immediately extinguished. At the same time, a thick layer of blue ice covered the entrance of the cave, gradually freezing inwards. It wanted to freeze Song Qingshan and the rest to death in the cave. Not good. Quick, circulate your spirit energy and break the blue ice flame. Song Qingshan did not manage to escape. With a furious roar, he used his spirit energy to break the ice. Everyone, including Li Hao, had a serious expression as they attacked together to break the ice. But the ice was extremely terrifying. In an instant, the combined strength of the 5 of them could only slow down the speed of the ice's freezing. Song Qingshan was filled with regret. If Suyu had been in the team, he would have discovered the lady and her terrifying mount earlier, and they would not have been trapped here. The rest of the disciples were also complaining, their hearts filled with despair. Seeing that they were stubbornly resisting, the lady's beautiful eyes turned cold. Struggle before death. Her lips curled into a cold smile. That's fine. Ever since I obtained this item, I have not had the chance to try it out. I'll use you guys to test it out. Whoosh! The lady took out an extremely ancient jade box from her robes. It was mottled and filled with traces of time. In the jade box, there was a drop of extremely cold liquid. It looked like a crystal, but also like a liquid. It emitted cold air, causing the temperature of the valley to drop by 30%. This is one of the treasures that your Lucian faction dug out from the abyss of Wutong, the ice crystal marrow. It condenses extremely cold air. The lady's face was filled with mockery. I have to say, your Lucian faction has really discovered an impressive relic. To think that there are so many complete ancient treasures. The lady's mocking expression became even more intense. Unfortunately, everything has gone to the benefit of my Empire of Darkness. This lady was from the Empire of Darkness. Creak! The lady flicked her fingers lightly. The drop of ice crystal marrow flew towards the entrance of the cave. Crack! The terrifying cold air caused a large area to freeze in the cave. The state that Song Qingshan and the rest had managed to maintain with great difficulty was instantly broken. With a horrible shriek, a 4th level peak Holy King was instantly frozen into an ice sculpture. Song Qingshan gasped. What exactly was the ice crystal marrow? Just getting close to it had such power. If it were to shatter, a numbing feeling welled up in his heart. But at that moment, whoosh, whoosh, a few crystalline, almost transparent threads descended from the sky. Caught off guard, the threads wrapped around the ice crystal marrow and flew into the sky. At the same time, a light laugh floated into his ears. Wouldn't it be a pity to waste such a treasure? I'll accept it. Raising his head, he saw a silver-haired, purple-robed figure standing under the beautiful moonlight. In his palm was the ice crystal marrow. The terrifying cold air did not harm him at all. Instead, it was completely absorbed into his body. It was Suyu. With Suyu's eyesight, he had long discovered the lady and the snow lion. He was hiding 50 miles away, observing cautiously. It was only at this moment that he had the opportunity to show himself. There's still a fish that escaped the net. The lady was deeply surprised. Why was this Lucian faction disciple acting alone? Song Qingshan seemed to have grasped onto a life-saving straw. He was overjoyed. Junior Su, please save us. Oof. A mere third-level holy king wants to ruin my plans? The lady mocked. She then flew into the sky. With a calm expression, Suyu muttered softly, "Fourth-level lower-tier holy king. 5 honor points for killing, 10 honor points for capturing." Unfortunately, glancing at the terrifying snow lion below, Suyu gave up on the idea of capturing it alive. The lady's first move was a legacy-level cultivation technique. Moreover, it was stage 1 upper class. Her hand was like a snow-white jade dragon, piercing through the air. Like lightning, she grabbed Suyu's chest. She wanted to pull out Suyu's heart, just like Zhao Dan at the entrance of the canyon. After being frozen by the snow lion, her heart had been clawed out by this vicious lady. Suyu's expression was cold. With a flip of his palm, a long spear of purple thunder flames and azure ice flames formed in his hands. Heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. Suyu let out a low grunt. The long spear of purple and azure flames contained a terrifying power. It turned into a beam of light and pierced through the void. What half-divine grade holy decree? The same holy decree realm as that demonic woman. The lady's cold smile froze. It was replaced by a touch of fear as she screamed and retreated. But it was already too late. It shook the heavens and shook the earth. With a shrill scream, the lady from the Empire of Darkness was pierced through her chest. Her heart was shattered. Her life was instantly extinguished, killing a 4th-level lower-tier holy king with one move. Whoosh! The divine ice thread flew over and coiled around his body. Suyu quickly searched and found 2 jade boxes that were filled with the vicissitudes of time. Could it be the treasures that they stole from the abyss of Wutong? Chapter 144. An immortal-level technique. Suyu was extremely shocked. Spirit-level techniques were split into legacy-level, immortal-level, and mythical-level. Suyu had already experienced the rarity of legacy-level techniques. For a fragment of a legacy-level technique, even someone as elegant as Yun Yin had no choice but to compromise, humiliating herself by marrying Li Hao in exchange for the technique. As for the complete legacy-level technique, only high-level Dragon Realm fighters and elders could cultivate it. There was only one fragment of an immortal-level technique in the entire Lucian faction. But at this moment, an immortal-level technique that could shake the entire Lucian faction had appeared. Suyu's heart was beating wildly, his blood boiling. But when he flipped it open, his heart turned cold. This was just a fragment. There were less than 100 words left. After letting out a sigh, Suyu opened the other jade box. His dim eyes lit up abruptly. Top legacy-level technique fragment, artifact control technique. This technique is considered a support technique. At lower tier, one can begin to awaken the soul of the divine artifact. At upper tier, one can release the soul of the divine artifact. At upper tier, the soul of the divine artifact is completely released. Cultivation requirement: possess a divine artifact. Divine artifact? Suyu's heart was beating slightly. Wasn't the divine ice ring in his hand the divine artifact of the divine ice ancient kingdom? But what did the soul of a divine artifact mean? Flipping through it, the artifact control technique had a detailed introduction. A divine artifact cannot unleash its true power without its owner. Outsiders would be no different from ordinary weapons, unable to unleash even a tenth of the power of the divine artifact. So you seem to be moved. Even though the divine ice ring was a divine artifact, no one had ever realized it was a divine artifact, not even the second elder. Could it be that he had never unleashed the true power of the divine ice ring? Cultivators of the artifact control technique can forcefully use the divine artifacts of others. If they are skilled enough, they can forcefully recognize their owner and take the divine artifacts of others for their own. Being overbearing and powerful will easily incur the jealousy of enemies. Please cultivate with caution. Suyu's heart was thumping wildly. He could even take the divine artifacts of others for his own. The only pity was that the artifact control technique was indeed incomplete. It only had stage 1 lower tier and only had a few thousand words. Junior Su, please attract the attention of this beast and help us escape. Song Qingshan was overjoyed when he saw that the pretty lady had been killed by Suyu. Suyu frowned. He did not have a good impression of them, especially Li Hao, who was someone he had to kill. But without a commander, the Snow Lion's power was reduced. It was only a matter of time before Song Qingshan escaped. If he watched from the side and returned to the faction, Qingshan would be. If Suyu were to return, Suyu shot out a bolt of energy, then retreated frantically. Of Qi, after being attacked, the 5th level lower tier Holy King Snow Lion turned around and let out a fierce roar. Su and Qing. Song Qingshan. Song now that he had left the narrow cave, he could finally display his strength. He no longer had to be stifled in the cave. With the 4 of them working together, the Snow Lion let out a series of blood-curdling screeches. After several moves, it retreated in defeat. Song, snow, song. You song, song of. It is one of the murderers. Capturing it and bringing it back will be a great achievement. The you is. Use. Su of. You of you. You. Su. You. Should we be in charge of the treasures that Suyu found? Hearing this, Song Qingshan and the others noticed the 2 ancient jade boxes. A few streaks of passion shot out from their eyes. What kind of treasures were hidden within the Abyss of Wudong? The Abyss of Wudong was an ancient ruin discovered by the Lucian faction. Some of the areas were still intact, and a large number of earth-shattering treasures had appeared. Most of the techniques in the depository of Buddhist scriptures came from the Abyss of Wudong. It was rumored that the spirit-level technique of the faction also came from the Abyss of Wudong. It could be said that the Abyss of Wudong was the foundation of the faction. Every 6 months, the 10 great elders of the faction would take turns to guard the Abyss of Wudong. Normally, Song Qingshan and the others would not have the right to touch the items in the Abyss of Wudong. But now, Song Qingshan struggled for a moment, but could not overcome his greed. He ordered, Suyu, according to the rules of the team, such a treasure should be split equally. Let me handle it as the team leader. Hearing this, Suyu was not surprised. He sighed, if I had known, I would have waited until all of you were frozen to death before attacking. Everyone's faces turned slightly red. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were ungrateful in this situation. Suyu had saved all of their lives, but now he was the one asking for the treasures. Li Hao sneered, since we are from the same faction, you should have saved us. This is your duty. Don't think of it as a favor. Hearing this, the 2 greedy 4th-level peak Holy Kings looked at each other and surrounded Suyu. Hand over the treasures and let the team handle it. Don't even think of keeping it all for yourself. Suyu's calm face showed a tinge of disappointment. Saving all of you is my duty. All right, take care of yourselves. I hope there will be people who will save you. Saying this, Suyu lightly threw the 2 jade boxes. The 2 fragments of techniques only had a mere 1,000 words. Suyu had already memorized them. Whoosh! The pupils of the 4 shrank, and they immediately snatched the treasures. They did not realize the hidden meaning in Suyu's words. Song Qingshan grabbed one, and Li Hao did the same. The 2 of them were pleasantly surprised and flipped it open. But at this moment, A terrifying aura suddenly descended on the scene. A cold voice filled with deep hatred reverberated in everyone's ears. You killed the people of the Empire of Darkness, stole my treasures, and you still dare to stay here. You're not just any coward. Everyone's hearts suddenly jumped. Apart from Song Qingshan, the rest of them froze. Turning their heads to look, 3 people had appeared at the entrance of the canyon. A 4th-level upper-tier Holy King, a 4th-level peak Holy King, and a 5th-level lower-tier Holy King. Besides them, there was also the injured 5th-level Holy King Snow Lion. The 5th-level Holy King leading them was a young man with a cold expression and a pair of icy eyes. He stared at them coldly. 2 5th-level Holy Kings. Song Qingshan's throat seemed to be blocked by something. A fear of death spread throughout his body, as if he had been electrocuted. With such a lineup, they would be completely annihilated. Li Hao's heart trembled. As cunning as he was, he quietly put down the jade box in his hands and slowly retreated, explaining, "Your female companion was not killed by me. I did not have the time to look at the contents of the jade box." Song Qingshan seemed to have realized as well. He hurriedly put down the jade box and cautiously retreated, growling, "We have no intention of becoming enemies with you. Don't push us too far." The 5th-level Holy King's cold expression swept past the cold corpse of the delicate lady, his hatred soaring to the heavens. He laughed angrily. "Push us too far? You are standing beside Yuera's corpse, holding her treasures in your hands, and you are telling me that she was not killed by you? Could it be that the murderer left it for you? You are the ones who have gone too far." The 4 of them were a mix of green and red, unable to defend themselves. In their hearts, they were filled with regret. These treasures were really left for them by Su Yu. If they had known this would happen, why would they have coveted the treasures? If they had left earlier, they would not have encountered such a terrifying enemy. Kill them. Feed them to the Snow Lion. The 5th-level Holy King took large strides forward. The Snow Lion breathed in and out a terrifying blue cold energy, charging forward. Split up and escape. Everyone that can escape counts. Song Qingshan's expression changed. He let out a loud roar and quickly escaped. At this moment, the 4 of them suddenly remembered the words Su Yu had left before he left. "You guys take care of yourselves. I hope that someone will save you." Now it seemed that Su Yu had already detected the arrival of the murderer. At the same time that they were angry at Su Yu for intentionally concealing the truth, the crowd felt like they had to suffer in silence, and they were filled with unspeakable regret. If not for their ingratitude, causing Su Yu to be deeply disappointed, how could they have fallen into such a state? They had only themselves to blame. Whoosh, whoosh, with regret and fear, the 4 of them split up and escaped. 2 hours later, 2 4th-level peak Holy King disciples knelt on the ground in fear. Song Qingshan and Li Hao had escaped with injuries. The 2 of them were captured and interrogated. They spat out everything they knew. What? Yuer was really killed by a 3rd-level lower-tier Holy King disciple? The 4th-level upper-tier Holy King member of the Empire of Darkness had a look of unforgettable hatred. "Li Xiaowei, please allow me to capture and kill this thief." The 4th-level upper-tier Holy King's eyes were filled with murderous intent as he knelt and begged. The 5th-level Holy King was Li Xiaowei. In the Empire of Darkness, he held the position of lieutenant and was their superior. "Yes, Chengyu, go ahead. Yuer has an engagement with you. You should personally settle this grudge." Li Xiaowei was at ease with Chengyu and thought highly of him. He was the one who arranged the engagement between Yuer and Chengyu. Chengyu gratefully bowed and left in a flash. After he left, only the 4th-level peak Holy King and Li Xiaowei were left. "Sir Lieutenant, that human lad is very strange. Would it be dangerous to let Chengyu go alone?" The 4th-level peak Holy King was worried. Li Xiaowei shook his head. "Don't worry. In terms of real combat power, Chengyu does not lose to you, Wang Li. In the camp I belong to, he has the most potential and is the most irreplaceable. Don't worry about him. Immediately search for the 4th-level peak Holy King disciple that escaped." "Yes." Wang Li bowed. However, a strange look flashed past his eyes. Suyu flew for a day. When he was sure that the terrifying formation had not pursued him, he was completely at ease. After finding a hidden place with overlapping ice mountains, Suyu hid in a cave and took out the ice crystal marrow. Suyu had only felt the terrifying cold energy from the icy pearl. Although it was not as strong, it was not far off. This drop of ice crystal marrow was a liquid formed by the condensation of extremely cold energy. It contained a terrifying cold energy. To a normal person, it was a fatal item, but to Suyu, it was a great supplement. He opened his mouth and swallowed it. A powerful cold energy spread throughout his body. Crack! His body was quickly frozen. Sigh of ice, under the influence of the cold energy, quickly circulated and absorbed the surrounding spirit energy, causing Suyu's cultivation level to increase steadily. Suyu, who was sealed in ice, began to comprehend the artifact control technique and the nameless immortal level technique in his mind. Even though the latter only had a few hundred words, he could more or less comprehend a little. It was a pity to abandon it like this. 3 days later, Suyu gradually awoke from the ice. His cultivation level had unknowingly stepped into the 3rd level upper tier, Holy King. The amount of spirit energy he had at that moment was double that of someone of the same cultivation level. Not to mention a 3rd level Holy King, he could even put up a fight against a 4th level upper tier Holy King in terms of spirit energy. But the technique that had made the greatest progress was the artifact control technique. 3 whole days, when time was sped up 200 times, was equivalent to 2 years in the outside world. Even though he had not comprehended it to lower tier, he was not far from it. Looking at the divine ice ring again, Suyu's eyes were filled with excitement. Giving the divine ice ring to me is such a waste. It has never been able to unleash its true power, only revealing a sliver of its power. As the artifact control technique says, Master's divine weapon is just ordinary metal in the hands of an outsider. Closing his eyes again, Suyu quietly waited for the ice seal to be lifted. But just as he closed his eyes, he was alarmed. When he opened his eyes again, a person had suddenly appeared 10 meters in front of him. It was Chengyu. Die! Chengyu's face was filled with hatred. Taking advantage of the fact that Suyu was still sealed in ice, he wanted to kill him. Suyu's expression changed, his heart filled with doubt. How did Chengyu discover his exact location? Chapter 145. Bang! The cold ice shattered, and a frightening palm of spiritual energy attacked Suyu's head. At the critical moment, Suyu's cold eyes shot over. He flicked his right index finger. The divine ice ring on his finger emitted a dazzling cold light. It was like a dazzling sun and moon, making it hard for people to look at it directly. Ice got protection. A low shout came from within the dazzling, icy light. Just at this moment, Chengyu suddenly slapped his palm. Bang! The feeling of hitting something solid was transmitted to his palm. However, Chengyu did not rejoice over the fact that he had hit his target. Instead, he immediately retracted his palm as if he had been electrocuted. Chilla! The moment he retracted his palm, a thin layer of ice condensed on his palm. If he hesitated for even a moment, he might be completely frozen on the spot. When the icy light dissipated, a scene that caused Chengyu to reveal a shocked expression appeared. Within the divine ice ring on Suyu's finger, many divine ice threads appeared. They weaved together to form a blurry helmet that protected his head. A faint palm print was left on the helmet, but Suyu was safe and sound. It was this helmet made from divine ice silk that saved his life. A weapon with sentience. It's a divine artifact. Chengyu was quite shocked. Divine artifacts might not be rare, as they would occasionally appear in the ruins. However, it was rare to hear of a divine weapon that could be used. The reason was that the divine tool could not be changed, and there was no benefit in obtaining it. However, the young man in front of him had a divine artifact that he could use. This was enough to shock Chengyu. Although he was shocked, he did not forget the purpose of this trip. You killed my fiancé. This enmity is absolutely irreconcilable. Not only did Chengyu not rush forward recklessly, he even retreated slightly, God-eyed demon moon. His eyes were like the bright moon in the sky, emitting a faint golden light. The obscure power rippled like water, radiating in all directions. All of a sudden, Su Yu felt dizzy, and he was shocked. Soul attack. The Martial Arts Training Institute of the Xinyu Prefecture had encountered a prodigy of souls, and the person in front of them was the second one. Not good. Su Yu realized that something was amiss. After that strand of soul force entered his mind, it gradually caused him to hallucinate. This was a hallucinatory soul attack. In a battle between experts, victory and defeat could be determined in seconds. Now that he had fallen into a hallucination, wouldn't it mean that he had a slim chance of survival? Buzz buzz. At this critical moment, the Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron, which had been quiet for a long time, trembled slightly. The faint golden soul force that had invaded his soul was easily swept out of his body. At the critical moment, Su Yu regained consciousness. The evil wind blew, and a frightening palm attacked Su Yu once again. It was Cheng Yu, who was very familiar with the technique, taking advantage of the gap to attack. Coupled with the soul attack, not to mention a 4th level upper tier Holy King of the same level. Even a 4th level peak Holy King would be in great danger. Without any hesitation, Su Yu unleashed the heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. Ice, lightning, and raging flames interweaved about, containing destructive power. They condensed into a spear that turned into a purple and green beam of light, piercing outwards. How could you wake up? Cheng Yu's expression changed, but he had no time to think. He could only collide with Su Yu's heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. Puff! It was as if 1,000 lightning bolts had descended upon the world, shaking the snowy plains and causing avalanches in all directions. Snowflakes swirled in the air. Amidst the roiling air waves, Cheng Yu vomited blood and flew backward. His face was filled with shock. Demigod-grade holy decree. Fear was one thing, but Cheng Yu did not panic. Instead, his gaze became even fiercer. You died under this move? Good. I want you to die without a corpse. Die without a corpse? Su Yu remembered the corpses that had been gnawed on in the ravine. Could it be that the snow lion had followed him? Chirp! At that moment, a sharp cry reverberated through the sky. A strong demonic beast aura, mixed with a strong gust of wind, blew towards Su Yu. Su Yu looked up, and his expression changed. It was a 4th level upper tier, Holy King Goshawk. Not only that, flocks of normal flying beasts had also arrived. He could actually control demonic beasts and wild beasts. Su Yu finally understood why his exact location could be easily discovered. The ability to control a sky full of flying beasts was comparable to Su Yu's eyesight. No, it was even better than Su Yu's. Creak! The goshawk swooped down from the sky, its sharp claws piercing through the clouds, aiming for Su Yu. This claw caused the wind and clouds to surge and dust to fly everywhere. Su Yu even felt a wave of pressure pressing his feet into the snow and mud. At the same time, Cheng Yu attacked from behind. A human and a demonic beast attacking together, facing 2 4th level upper tier Holy Kings at the same time. Su Yu felt the pressure, but his eyes remained calm, without any fluctuations. Creak! A sky full of divine ice threads shot out majestically from the divine ice ring. A shocking cold energy flowed out from within the divine ice threads. With a creak, countless divine ice threads fused, weaving into a long spear, suddenly piercing towards the goshawk in the sky. At the same time, Su Yu used Purple Star Thunderbolt. A purple lotus flower appeared beneath his feet, surrounded by terrifying thunderbolts, spewing destructive thunderbolts. Rumble! The divine ice threads attacked the goshawk, while Su Yu fought Cheng Yu. He was fighting 1 against 2. Thud! 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 Cheng Yu retreated a few steps, shocked, his expression extremely gloomy. That damn divine artifact! Attacked together. Cheng Yu let out a low grunt, his eyes releasing a golden glow. In an instant, the demonic beasts and flying birds in the sky were extremely agitated. Like raindrops, countless flying birds attacked. Yu took advantage of the chaos to attack. Humph! But the divine ice threads changed again, splitting apart one by one. After freezing, they became sharp and hard, scattering in all directions around Yu. At a glance, Yu looked like a porcupine. The flying birds that swooped down were all pierced by the ice spikes, unable to disturb Yu in the slightest. Yu was once again struck in the chest by Yu. After being severely injured twice, Yu once again spat out a mouthful of blood, stumbling backwards. Slap! In his panic, a cultivation technique fell from his robes. It was a sheepskin scroll, with 4 words written on the cover using soul energy. Divine Eyes, Demonic Moon. It was a top-notch legacy-level cultivation technique, and it was an extremely rare soul attack cultivation technique. Not good. Yu's expression changed, rolling on the ground to grab his own cultivation technique. Yu's eyes burned. A soul attack legacy-level cultivation technique. The Lucian faction did not even have a deity-level cultivation technique, much less a legacy-level cultivation technique. How could he let go of such a great opportunity in front of him? Seeing that Yu was about to snatch it back, Yu quickly removed his right eye's membrane, revealing a wine-red divine spirit eye to the world. Space manipulation. The moment Yu grabbed the cultivation technique, his body was suddenly surrounded by a space energy. When he came to his senses, he was shocked to find that he was 1 meter in front of Yu. In Yu's hands, a spear burning with ice and thunder pierced through his body. With a pathetic shriek, Yu's chest was pierced, his body flying 100 meters away, once again spitting out blood. At the same time, in his panic, the sheepskin scroll was forcefully snatched away. Yu was furious. However, a purple lotus flew over in an instant. Yu's eyes were filled with fear. He had already suffered 3 attacks from Yu. His body was already injured, and he could no longer fight. Retreat! With a low roar, the eagle in the sky swooped down, grabbing Yu and soaring into the sky. Yu's eyes were cold. You want to leave? I see divine wings. A cold light flickered on his back, a pair of lifelike wings silently unfurling. Creak! Yu disappeared from where he stood, and when he reappeared, he was behind the demonic bird. How is this possible? How many amazing secret techniques do you have? Yu was horrified, and his heart was thumping wildly. A frightening spirit energy that surpassed others. The extremely mysterious ring of a divine artifact from the ancient kingdom. The stunning half-divine grade holy decree. The stage 1 top-class purple star thunderbolt. The icy divine wings that were as fast as lightning. If a person of the same cultivation level possessed any one of them, they would be able to dominate the same cultivation level, winning more often than losing. However, Yu had gathered all of them. A numbing feeling welled up in his heart. This person was too frightening. A strange scene played out in the sky. A 3rd-level upper-tier Holy King was chasing 2 4th-level upper-tier Holy Kings, fleeing for their lives. After chasing for some time, Yu's heart turned cold, and a sliver of despair emerged. But at that moment, a powerful and frightening aura descended from the sky. Whoosh! Looking at the figure, it was the 4th-level peak Holy King of the Empire of Darkness, Wang Li. He had been ordered to capture Li Hao, and had come over to observe after hearing the commotion. Wang Yinwei. Yu was overjoyed, as if he had found his savior. He rode the eagle and flew away. Yu's heart thumped, his pupils dilating. He had actually encountered a 4th-level peak Holy King. Quickly kill this person. He has many secret techniques on him, and a powerful divine artifact. Yu's heart was at ease. He turned around and laughed coldly, as if he was looking at a dead man. Puff! But at that moment, a sharp gust of wind from a palm suddenly attacked him from behind. The terrifying spirit energy pierced through his chest when he was defenseless. His entire chest had been pierced through from the front to the back, a ghastly bloody hole. Yu tumbled and fell from the sky, his eyes filled with disbelief. Wang Yinwei, his colleague of many years, had actually launched a sneak attack on him. Wang Yinwei, you. Chen Yu could not believe it. Wang Li squinted his eyes, a mixture of hatred and mockery. As he chased after Cheng Yu, he let out a cold laugh. I finally have a chance to get rid of you. You and I were childhood sweethearts, and we were committed to each other for life. I was supposed to be the vice captain, but you, a prodigy of souls, displayed your talent and usefulness. You caught the eye of Colonel Li, and everything that belonged to me was taken away by you. It doesn't matter that you took away the vice captain position. I was not as skilled as you. But Yu was also taken away by you, and she became your fiancée. Do you know how much I want to kill you? Wang Li rebuked coldly, his killing intent apparent. He had waited for this day for too long. Now that he had a better chance to kill Cheng Yu, he could push the blame to the Lucian faction disciples. Cheng Yu suddenly realized and shouted angrily, "You want to kill me? No way. Retreat." Chirp. The goshawk let out a sharp chirp, streaked across the sky, and fled with Cheng Yu on its back. Wang Li smiled coldly. Do you think you can run away? Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Wang Li had caught up with the goshawk. A ray of black light gathered on his fingertip, and he pointed it at Cheng Yu and the goshawk. Cheng Yu's expression changed. At the critical moment, he ordered the goshawk to turn around and protect him. Chirp! A mournful cry was heard, and a bowl-sized hole appeared on the back of the goshawk from the black light. Its body fell rapidly. Cheng Yu also had a huge hole in its back. His head had vanished without a trace, killing 2 4th-level upper-tier Holy Kings with one finger. This was the power of a 4th-level peak Holy King. With a cold smile, Wang Li watched as a human and a demon fell to the ground, smashed into meat paste. A twisted smile of revenge appeared on his face, following which his gaze turned and shot behind him. Lad, it's your turn. Even if we disregard the fact that you killed you still deserve to die for seeing something you should not have seen. Where is everyone? There is nothing behind him. No one was there. Trying to escape? Hee. It would be a joke if you could escape the eyes of the Empire of Darkness's scouts. Wang Li's cold eyes scanned the surroundings, rays of white light flashing. In his field of vision, the complex glaciers were completely unobstructed, almost transparent. It was obvious where Su Yu was. Found him. Wang Li's lips formed a sinister smile, his gaze fixed on a mountain. Whoosh. Chapter 146. Boom. Broken rocks flew everywhere, and Su Yu's figure appeared from the bottom of the broken rocks. Su Yu was slightly startled. How did the other party see through the layer of shattered stones and discover him, who was hidden at the bottom? But he didn't have time to think. Wang Li's hand flashed with a black light. The terrifying killing move that he had used to kill Cheng Yu and the demon bird came crashing down. Su Yu's expression changed slightly as he sensed a deadly crisis looming over him. At the critical moment, he pointed a finger at his left eye and removed the diaphragm. His purple eye emitted a dazzling purple radiance. Seal of time. The formless purple dragon coiled around Wang Li's body, causing his body to be frozen in time. The fatal blow paused for a moment. Seizing the opportunity, Su Yu grasped the heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. The ice and thunder flame's spear pierced forward. At the same time, Su Yu did not even look at the result. He opened his icy divine wings and flew across the horizon. An earth-shattering roar came from behind him, and waves of chi surged. The destructive power radiated in all directions. However, Su Yu could feel that the other party was not dead. Little brat. A furious roar echoed from within the billowing waves of energy. Amidst the swirling snowflakes, Wang Li's clothes were torn to shreds. There were several bloody wounds on his chest, and a trickle of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. At the critical moment, he finally regained control of his body and hastily blocked the attack. Although he managed to keep his life, he still suffered some superficial wounds. This move had angered Wang Li. Whoosh, as fast as light, Wang Li chased after him furiously. His killing intent was extremely strong. Regardless of whether it was for killing Yu witnessing him kill Chengyu, or the many secret techniques that Su Yu possessed, he could not let Su Yu off. However, Su Yu's icy divine wings had reached stage 1 upper class. His speed was extremely fast, only slightly slower than Wang Li's. If he wanted to catch up to Su Yu, he would need to compete in endurance. Half a month later, Wang Li was furious and filled with hatred. In terms of endurance, Su Yu did not lose to him by much. That extraordinary spiritual energy had supported Su Yu's escape for half a month. What infuriated Wang Li even more was that Su Yu had taken a big detour on the snowfield and returned to the borders of the Wulong snowfield. It was only 30 miles away from the canyon where the disciples of the Lucian faction had been hiding. Once they escaped from the Wulong snowfield and received help from the Lucian faction, the situation would be extremely bad. He was shocked and angry, while Su Yu was exhausted. His opponent's eyes were extremely strange, and no matter how hard Su Yu tried to hide it, he was still able to see through it with a single glance. Su Yu found it unimaginable. In the past half a month, he had very little time to rest. He had been fleeing with all his might, and he was extremely exhausted. Seeing that Wang Li was catching up to him, Su Yu used the same trick again. Time Seal, heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. The two attacks worked together to inflict light injuries on Wang Li and buy him some time. Seizing the opportunity, Su Yu flew into the sky. However, the aura of pursuit soon came from behind him. Su Yu was slightly anxious. His spiritual energy had been depleted, and his physical strength was weak. Hence, he could not stay for long. If this continued, he would be caught. At this moment, he flew past a wolf den. Several snow wolves were sleeping soundly in the cave. Su Yu had a thoughtful look on his face. Clenching his teeth, Su Yu dived down. Let's take a gamble. Let's see if my guess is correct. His divine ice threads shot out and bound a few snow wolves that were on alert and trying to escape. Su Yu entered the wolf's den. Beneath the wolf den was a 10,000-year-old glacier. As the divine ice threads stirred with all their might, they instantly dug out an ice pit. Without hesitation, Su Yu leaped into the ice pit and pulled the divine ice threads, forcefully wrapping a few snow wolves above his head. From afar, within the wolf den, a few snow wolves were hugging each other and sleeping, nothing out of the ordinary. That was because not only were their limbs tied up, even their mouths were tied up. Whoosh! At this moment, a cold laugh could be heard. Finally not escaping? Wang Li had accurately located Su Yu's location. However, after landing, his expression froze. It's the snow wolves, not Su Yu? Cunning kid, to think that you managed to escape my search radius. Wang Li looked around coldly, hurriedly flying into the sky. He searched everywhere, his eyes filled with anxiety. Su Yu had seen him kill Chengyu with his own eyes. If he had been caught by Li Xiaowei, then thump, thump, Wang Li panicked for the first time. He clenched his teeth, dragging his exhausted body as he searched everywhere. A moment later, there was a slight movement in the depths of the wolf den. Su Yu's head popped out, and his face revealed an expression as if he had expected it. The reason why he could catch up to me is probably because of the temperature of my human body. In the boundless, icy snowfield, the temperature emitted by a human is like a torch. Hence, no matter how I hide, he can still see through me with a glance. Now, a few snow wolves emit the same temperature, and I managed to fool him. After some thought, Su Yu did not leave. Instead, he hid himself. Wang Li must not have gone far. If he were to rush out now, he would not be able to escape after losing his stamina and spirit energy. Taking a deep breath, Su Yu took out the mystic moonlit demon eyes as he recuperated. This was an incomplete legacy-level technique, only the first stage. Su Yu was disappointed for a moment, then relieved. A soul attack technique is extremely rare. To be able to obtain the first stage is already a blessing. But who exactly is the Empire of Darkness? Su Yu fell into deep thought. The leader of the Sea Wolves pirates, a mere second-level holy king, had a legacy-level technique. Chengyu, on the other hand, was an extremely rare soul prodigy. Wang Li was an expert in hunting, and Su Yu had been chased for half a month. The abilities each of them displayed were unimaginable. At the same time, a legacy-level technique was not that valuable to them. A second-level lower tier, Holy King, was qualified to cultivate it. This was unimaginable in the Lucian faction. Those who were qualified to cultivate a legacy-level technique had to be inner sanctum disciples who had contributed to the faction. Even if they did not contribute, they had still worked hard, like the deputy clan master of the External Affairs Division, Gang. Usually, only a fourth-level Holy King was qualified. In the Empire of Darkness, even a normal silver robe guard could cultivate it. Thinking for a moment, Suyu shook his head. This should be something for the higher-ups of the faction to worry about. The Empire of Darkness's tentacles had already extended into the Lucian faction's territory. Retracting his thoughts, Suyu flipped through the mystic moonlit demon eyes. Soul Attack Secret Techniques. The first stage is split into lower class, upper class, and peak class. At lower class, one can cultivate the mystic moonlit demon eyes, able to cause the enemy to fall into a hallucination. With proficiency, one can control demonic beasts with weaker souls. At upper class, the hallucination effect is strengthened, able to hallucinate enemies 3 levels higher than oneself, and control demonic beasts 3 levels higher than oneself. At peak class, the hallucination effect is at its peak, able to make the hallucinator commit suicide with just a word, killing without leaving a trace. The difficulty of cultivation is determined by the strength of one's soul talent. A weak talent takes 10 years to learn, a strong talent takes 2 years. It all depends on one's luck. Suyu's eyes flashed with hope. He could actually control demonic beasts. Calming himself, Suyu simultaneously studied the mystic moonlit demon eyes, the artifact control technique, and the nameless immortal level technique. 10 days passed in a flash. Snow fell from the sky. In this silent and cold world, only the sound of snowflakes could be heard. Thump, but on this day, a figure descended outside the wolf's den. It was Wang Li, who had been out searching for 10 days. His face was as pale as paper, his breathing erratic, lacking in spirit energy. His face showed deep exhaustion. What was most surprising was that there were several savage claw marks on his body, as if he had been attacked by demonic beasts. No one knew that within 10 days he had searched a 1,000-mile radius, even expanding his search to the pine forest outside of the Wulong snowfield. In the pine forest, he had unexpectedly been surrounded by a group of demonic beasts, almost dying. But after 10 whole days, despite his exhaustion, he still could not find Suyu. He had also searched this wolf's den multiple times. Finally, he discovered a detail that he had overlooked. Now that he had returned, he saw that there were a few snow wolves in the cave, skinny and unconscious, but still in deep sleep. "Lad, you have been hiding here all along." Wang Li's expression turned gloomy, filled with anger. "Looks like you have already seen through my method of searching for enemies. It is my fault for not being thorough enough, to have overlooked a detail. In such a cold winter, the snow wolves need to replenish their food. Why would they stay in the cave for 10 consecutive days? There's only one answer. They are trapped, unable to find food." Wang Li clenched his teeth, deeply blaming himself. If he had discovered this detail earlier, would he have wasted 10 days searching for nothing? Slap. The sound of ice breaking could be heard from within the cave. Following that, a purple figure descended. Suyu's eyes opened slightly, a golden glow flashing past. He smiled. "Who can you blame for your own stupidity?" The veins on Wang Li's forehead throbbed. "Lad, it's all over." "Is that so? Wait till you catch up to me." After resting for 10 days, Suyu had fully recovered. He extended his icy divine wings and flew out of the Wulong snowfield. Wang Li clenched his teeth, dragging his exhausted body as he chased after Suyu. Even if his stamina and spirit energy were depleted, he was still no match for Suyu. The chase continued for an entire day. The two of them left the Wulong snowfield, entering the dense pine forest. Compared to the snowfield, the terrain within the pine forest was more complicated, with many wild beasts. It was difficult for Wang Li to easily find Suyu, but Suyu was unfamiliar with the place, while Wang Li had searched for 5 to 6 days. Hence, he was more familiar with the place than Suyu. gradually catching up to Su Yu. Lad, you have nowhere to run. Any deeper, and you will reach the gathering place of the demonic beasts. You will either be eaten by the demonic beasts or die by my hands. Wang Li laughed coldly, but Su Yu suddenly turned his head, a mocking smile on his face. The feng shui here is not bad. I will send you on your way here. You? I should be the one saying that. Wang Li was not worried. Instead, he was overjoyed. He dashed forward, a faint black glow forming on his fingertips. Su Yu's expression was calm, his eyes glowing with a cold light. Heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. With a low grunt, Su Yu revolved the spirit energy in his body, fighting with all his might. Rumble. A deafening roar reverberated through the sky. Thud, thud, thud. Su Yu took a few steps back, while Wang Li flew back 10 meters, spitting out a mouthful of blood. The moment they clashed, the victor was decided. How is this possible? In just 10 days, your spirit energy has increased by another 30%. You're stronger than me at my peak. Wang Li's expression turned rigid, aghast. How could he have known that after being chased for 10 days in the snowy plains, with his body depleted of spirit energy, coupled with the cold environment, the Sai of the Ice Celestial had broken through to stage 1 top class? His current spirit energy was 3 times that of someone of the same level. He was vaguely stronger than a 4th level peak Holy King. If Wang Li was at his peak, relying only on his spirit energy, so you would have to be careful when fighting him. But in the past 10 days, his spirit energy had been severely depleted. In addition, he had been led by the nose by Su Yu, running for a day and night. His spirit energy had been completely depleted. In this battle, Su Yu naturally had the upper hand. A sense of foreboding welled up in his heart. Wang Li panicked, as if he had fallen into a trap. Clenching his teeth, Wang Li retreated. He would chase after Su Yu once he recovered. Chapter 147. Heavenly Punishment of Ice and Thunder. Wang Li hurriedly tried to block, but his spirit energy was depleted and he could not withstand the blow. Rumble. Ah! With a pathetic cry, Wang Li's arms exploded. His abdomen had been pierced by the spear of divine punishment, creating a large, bloody hole. Fresh blood splattered everywhere, flesh splattering everywhere. Stop! I swear I will not hunt you down again. Wang Li dragged his injured body as he fled, turning back to plead with Su Yu. His eyes were filled with hatred. Even if he had recovered 20% of his strength and spirit energy, he was confident he could kill Su Yu with his injured body. Purple Star Thunderbolt. What answered him was a giant purple lotus. It was beautiful and elegant, but it emitted a terrifying, destructive power. Rumble. Ah! He was once again sent flying 100 meters away. His body was a bloody mess, giving off a burnt smell. Half of his body had been destroyed by the thunder flames. Junior, don't push me too far. Wang Li roared, his eyes glowing fiercely. He looked like a cornered beast. Su Yu calmly said, pushing me too far is better than being silenced. Glazed ice flame. Creak. Ah! Wang Li had suffered 3 consecutive blows. He was on the brink of death. His heart was filled with regret. If he had known Su Yu was so difficult to deal with, he would have been more cautious when he attacked. Now, he had fallen into a desperate situation, but knowing that he was going to die, Wang Li was furious. Junior, even if I die, you won't have it easy. Whoosh! Mobilizing the last of his strength, Wang Li fought back. At this moment, he was like a wild beast, valiantly pouncing forward without fear of death, attacking with an undaunted stance. Su Yu's gaze was calm. He took a few steps back, maintaining a certain distance from Wang Li to avoid a desperate counterattack. One was like a wild beast, the other was at ease. The forest rumbled as the battle continued. After half a day, Wang Li was finally exhausted. Not only was his body heavily injured, his stamina and spirit energy depleted. In his eyes, Su Yu, who was also a little tired, flew over and thrust the heavenly punishment of ice and thunder at him. It's all over now. Rumble. But just as the heavenly punishment of ice and thunder was about to strike, whoosh, A silhouette suddenly flashed out from a hidden place and smacked Wang Li's head with a palm, completely ending his life. The swiftness of his speed, the strength of his aura, and the abruptness of his appearance caused others to be caught off guard. Wang Li only had time to let out a scream before his head was smashed to pieces without any resistance. The strange figure squatted down and searched his body for a token. The person played with the token in his hand and slowly raised his head. His eyes were filled with playfulness and playfulness. "Junior brother Su, you've worked hard. I won't stand on ceremony and accept the credit for killing him." Li Hao. Su Yu's eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent. He had been so engrossed in the battle that he hadn't noticed when Li Hao, the venomous snake, had been hiding nearby. He had been hiding in the dark, waiting for Su Yu to take the risk and exhaust Wang Li to death before revealing himself to take advantage of the situation. However, the merit was no longer important. What was important was something else. Between him and Li Hao, only one could live. Li Hao hated the humiliation of Su Yu stealing his wife, and he was determined to kill Su Yu. Su Yu was worried that Li Hao would go crazy and implicate the innocent Xia Jingyu. He had to get rid of this threat. Between them, there would be no rest until death. Now that they were far away from the faction and there was no one around, they could fight to the death. But in the battle just now, Wang Li's desperate counterattack had exhausted more than half of Su Yu's stamina and spirit energy, greatly reducing his abilities. On the other hand, Li Hao was hiding in the dark, his abilities at their peak, and he definitely had a higher cultivation level than Su Yu. Even at his peak, Su Yu would not be able to defeat Li Hao, much less now. "All right, Su Yu, it's time for me to send you on your way. Tainting my woman? I'll skin you alive." Li Hao's playful expression faded, his handsome features suddenly becoming ferocious, like a savage beast. Whoosh, suppressing the killing intent in his heart. Su Yu flew deeper into the pine needle forest while he still had his stamina and spirit energy. Licking his lips, Li Hao was like a hunter who had found his prey. His ferocious expression was even more sinister in the forest. "Sleeping with my woman? I want you to die in fear." Whoosh, Li Hao chased after Wang Li, his speed far surpassing that of the exhausted Wang Li. The distance between the two of them was slowly closing. After chasing for half a day, the distance between the two of them was finally less than 100 meters. "Run like a stray dog. Run to your heart's content. I'll catch up to you soon." Li Hao's twisted expression revealed the joy of revenge. Looking at the approaching figure of Su Yu, Li Hao's killing intent intensified. The humiliation of being cuckolded was about to be washed away. Roar. However, at that moment, a deafening roar shook the pine forest. A giant lion covered in flames roared as it charged out from the depths of the pine forest. Its body was huge, the size of a small house. Its abilities had reached the terrifying level of a fourth-level upper tier, Holy King. This was the infamous Flaming Lion. Its abilities were at least at fourth-level Holy King. Flaming lions usually lived in groups. The appearance of one meant that there was a whole group of them nearby. Just thinking about it made one's scalp go numb. Li Hao could not help but let out a sinister laugh. "Ha! In front of you is a group of flaming lions. Behind you is me, Li Hao. Su Yu, looks like even the heavens are not on your side. Let's see where you can run to today." However, the next moment, his sinister laugh suddenly froze. Divine eyes, demonic moon. In an instant, Su Yu's eyes emitted a resplendent golden light. It was as if two bright moons had suddenly risen in the dark forest. The golden light expelled all darkness. The obscure undulations were like ripples that were reflected in all directions. "Soul attack? You were a prodigy of souls?" Li Hao was shocked. Su Yu had only trained Divine Eyes Demonic Moon to stage 1. Hence it was not a threat to Li Hao. Even so, it was enough to shock Li Hao. The extremely rare prodigy of souls had actually come from Su Yu. It was rumored that prodigies of souls would be extremely terrifying in the future. There was once a prodigy of souls who had destroyed a civilization. A chill ran through his heart. He could not let Su Yu live. However, before he could make a move, The flaming lion's eyes turned sluggish. The huge body that was pouncing towards Suyu suddenly froze, giving up on attacking Suyu, instead roaring as it charged towards Li Hao. What? He can even control demonic beasts. Li Hao's expression changed, a bad premonition welling up in his heart. If Suyu entered the group of demonic beasts, wouldn't he be like a fish in water? Evil creature, scram. Li Hao panicked, suddenly striking ruthlessly, sending the flaming lion the size of a house flying with a slap. Taking advantage of this gap, Suyu flew forward. Roar! Dashing out of the coniferous pine forest, he appeared on a rather spacious plain filled with rocks. A scorching heat assaulted his senses. The 9 flaming lions had sensed the commotion and were flying forward. Each lion was at least a 4th-level lower-tier Holy King, and the strongest was a 4th-level upper-tier Holy King. A total of 9 of them pounced together, as if they were burning a city. Suyu was not worried, but happy. Divine Eye's demonic moon. The brilliant golden light illuminated the sky, and the 9 demonic beasts were enchanted at the same time. Hold it back. Suyu let out a low grunt, and the 9 flaming lions roared, pouncing towards Li Hao. Suyu spread his icy divine wings, preparing to escape. However, from the corner of his eye, he saw the cave of the flaming lions, and his pupils shrank, his heart thumping wildly. The cave was not deep, and he could see the depths with a single glance. It was filled with treasures. Many of them were spiritual treasures that were difficult to obtain in the outside world, containing rich spiritual energy. There were even 2 items that could be considered rare treasures. These were all reserves of food that the blazing flame lion had found in the depths of the mountains where humans rarely went. If he were to bring them back to the faction, it would be a huge merit. After struggling for a moment, Suyu clenched his teeth. Let's fight. Running for his life was not the best plan. He could escape for a while, but he could not escape forever. Rather than living in fear like a stray dog, he might as well fight for his life. Whoosh! Flying into the cave, Suyu grabbed 2 of the most precious spiritual treasures and swallowed them. Thump! Thump! The powerful and violent spiritual energy entered his body, like a stampede of 10,000 horses, causing Suyu's blood to flow rapidly, his heart to beat wildly. After all, they were unrefined natural treasures, and there were many impurities. After swallowing them, the violent energy caused his body to feel extreme pain. However, Suyu stared at Li Hao, his eyes filled with determination, and he opened his mouth to swallow them continuously. The powerful energy caused his cultivation base to rise crazily. An aura close to that of a 3rd-level peak Holy King was hidden. Li Hao attacked furiously, sending a flaming lion flying with 1 palm. Whether it was lower tier or upper tier, in front of a 4th-level peak Holy King, they were like pieces of paper, unable to withstand a single blow. 1 lion, 2 lions, 3 lions. With each lion Li Hao sent flying, he took a step closer to the cave that Suyu was in. 4 lions, 5 lions, 6 lions. The remaining 3 flaming lions blocked the entrance of the cave, firmly protecting Suyu. Only 3 steps left. Slap! The 7th flaming lion was sent flying. Li Hao took a step forward, his lips filled with a cold, murderous intent. An ant who had just entered the faction dares to encroach on my woman. I, Li Hao, have never experienced such humiliation in my life. Your death is not to be regretted. Slap! The 8th flaming lion was sent flying. Li Hao took a step forward. Only the last flaming lion was left in front of him. I will cut you up with my own hands. I, Li Hao, will not let go of anyone close to you. Li Hao's face was distorted. He roared like a maniac, brazenly attacking. Slap! The 9th flaming lion was sent flying, revealing the cave and Suyu. There was no longer any separation between the 2 of them. Li Hao's expression was fierce, his hatred overflowing. The humiliation in his heart was unbearable. He stared at Suyu, who was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed. His facial features were scrunched up, like an angry lion, venting the hatred in his heart. After you die, I, Li Hao, will toy with everyone close to you to death. I will make them hate you and hate you, because you have implicated them. The humiliation of having his fiancée forcefully taken away had caused Li Hao to sink into obsession and madness. He had never thought that all of this was because he had schemed against Su Yu in the first place, overreaching himself and allowing Su Yu to possess Yun Yin. It could be said that he had brought this upon himself. However, Li Hao did not reflect on himself at all. He only had a bellyful of resentment. Boom! A ball of terrifying spirit energy surrounded Li Hao's palm, carrying with it a terrifying killing intent. He let out a vengeful smile. You, your friends, all have to die. And that bitch Yun Yin. Does she think she will be fine hiding in the Yin family? When I break through to 5th level Holy King, I will personally visit the Yun family. She betrayed me. I want her to forever be a plaything under my crotch, to be ravaged by me. The twisted Li Hao had gone completely mad, his palm ruthlessly coming towards Su Yu. But just as he was about to kill Su Yu, his eyes slowly opened. A beam of light burst forth, the air current swirled. The majestic spirit energy seemed to have been summoned, entering Su Yu's body. His cultivation base had finally broken through the shackles, reaching 3rd level peak Holy King. Whoosh! A powerful aura burst forth from Su Yu's body. It set off a strong wave, causing his silver hair to dance wildly. Chapter 148. Li Hao was slightly stunned. You've broken through? His grin deepened. Who do you think you are, fighting to the death with me? Even though you've broken through to 3rd level peak Holy King, in my eyes, you can only run away. Cloud-breaking kick. Li Hao's words were filled with disdain, but his actions were cautious. He switched from a normal palm strike to the leg technique he was best at. His leg shot out, bringing with it a series of afterimages. The terrifying spirit energy gathered on his leg, rolling like angry clouds in the sky. The clouds surged. The power to shatter the clouds arrived in an instant. The stage 1 upper class of a legacy-level technique, coupled with a 4th level Holy King cultivation level, exploded with absolute power. Crack! A strong energy attacked Su Yu. His purple robe blazed, his silver hair dancing in the wind. His deep eyes were filled with an icy cold, killing intent. Heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. Su Yu let out a low grunt. A spear of ice and thunder formed in his palm, thrusting forward. A leg and a spear collided in midair. Rumble. After a deafening roar, Li Hao retreated. The sinister smile on his face suddenly froze. Bewilderment surged in his eyes. Your spiritual energy is actually not inferior to mine. This was unbelievable. A 3rd level peak Holy King could have spirit energy comparable to a 4th level peak Holy King. Su Yu's eyes were filled with killing intent. Before he could finish his sentence, he had already charged forward. Li Hao's surprise disappeared, his face filled with anger. Oomph. You damned thing. The more you resist, the uglier your death will be. I only used 50% of my strength just now. Now it's time to end this. Li Hao took a deep breath, the spirit energy deep within his body surging. In an instant, it surpassed his peers by 10%. In the faction, Li Hao had cultivated the 1,000-thread mantra, which expanded his spirit energy to stage 1 lower class. At the same time, the spirit energy he had held back just now surged to his calf. A scalp-numbing spirit energy surged crazily. Cloud-breaking kick. It was the same kick that could shake the clouds, but its power had increased by 50%. That kick could shatter the clouds, destroying everything in its path, causing Su Yu to feel the threat of death. But his eyes were as calm as still water. Not only did he not prepare a powerful technique, he put down his palm and calmly said, Indeed, it's time to end this. Li Hao's heart skipped a beat. What did Su Yu's words mean? However, there was no time to think. Filled with killing intent, he attacked. You, your family, and Yun Yin, I want them all to die a horrible death. Only when he was right in front of Su Yu did he finally move his finger. In an instant, a ball of icy light dazzled the world, exceptionally dazzling. The divine ice ring trembled slightly, letting out a joyful sound. Countless divine ice threads sprayed out and weaved into a fist the size of a human head. Boom! Ah! A shrill scream was heard. Li Hao's sinister smile froze, and what gradually replaced it was pain and fear. After his right leg was struck by the strange fist weave from the divine ice threads, his bones broke, and the flesh on his leg froze and exploded. After the collision, his right leg was badly mutilated, and half of it was crippled. Intense pain assaulted his soul, causing him to scream like a pig being slaughtered. He staggered a few steps and fell on his butt. At this moment, his heart instantly turned cold. A wave of fear spread from the depths of his heart. Suyu walked over with his hands behind his back, countless divine ice threads dancing behind him, covering the sky and covering the sun. It was as if they were protecting a king, dancing wildly in all directions, freezing all incoming enemies. Could it be a divine artifact? Li Hao's pupils shrank, his body shivering as he uttered words that even he did not dare believe. A divine artifact that even the elders might not possess. Suyu actually possessed one. This was his most powerful trump card that he had been hiding. His heart thumped wildly. Li Hao's heart sank to the bottom. Even after using your full strength, you're still only SOSO. Suyu lightly shook his head, indifferently saying, during the 10 days of hiding and training, his artifact control technique had made great progress, touching the edge of lower class. He was just a step away from completely reaching the lower class realm. Even so, the true power of the divine ice ring was revealed to be terrifying. Li Hao felt humiliated. He had actually been defeated by Suyu, defeated by the man who had taken his fiancée. In his eyes, Suyu, who could be easily toyed with by him, was actually stronger than him. Following which, the humiliation in his heart was quickly replaced by a life and death crisis. Escape. Suyu, who possessed a divine artifact, was like an insurmountable mountain. After successfully escaping, he would think of a way to get rid of Suyu from behind the scenes. The people around him would all receive retribution. As for that bitch Yin Yin, she could not be forgiven. Whoosh, condensing his spirit energy into a pair of wings, Li Hao broke through the air to escape. If a 4th-level Holy King wanted to escape, his speed was so fast that it would be difficult to catch up. But when Li Hao turned his head to look, Suyu was still standing at his original position with his hands behind his back, not giving chase. Just as he was feeling suspicious, a scene that caused his pupils to shrink suddenly appeared. Whoosh, whoosh. The divine ice threads around Suyu's body seemed to have received the command of a king, suddenly weaving into a terrifying arrow. The arrow was 10 feet long, pointing towards the sky, locking onto Li Hao. Li Hao felt his scalp go numb. What kind of divine artifact is that? Can it transform into anything? But he did not have time to think. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 10 feet long arrow flew through the clouds, causing the sky to tremble as it shot towards Suyu. The ice that could freeze everything, destroying everything. Not good. Li Hao's expression changed. He flapped his wings, quickly dodging the arrow. But the cold energy emitted by the arrow caused the surrounding air to freeze. He was unable to dodge, unable to do so. Creak. The arrow pierced through his shoulder, its powerful force nailing him into the stone wall. The heart-wrenching pain caused Li Hao to let out a pitiful cry. Looking at Suyu walking in the air with his hands behind his back, Li Hao was terrified. The fear of death caused his entire body to tremble. Deep regret welled up in his heart. If he had a choice, he would never provoke Suyu again. With a painful roar, Li Hao tore apart his shoulder, mutilating his right arm to escape from the arrow. He then fled in panic like a stray dog. Suyu, we are fellow disciples of the same faction. Why must you be so ruthless? As Li Hao fled, he turned his head back and said, You and I will stop here. I swear that I will never cause trouble for you or your friends again. And Yin Yin, if you want her, I can even help you pressure her to submit and marry you. Suyu calmly chased after him. Without turning his head, he grabbed at the stone wall. Creak! The divine ice threads that had turned into an arrow turned back into a ball of thread and flew back into Suyu's palm, docile and intelligent. You have forgotten, this is a battle to the death. Su Yu's expression was calm, as usual. With a flick of his finger, the divine ice threads in his palm weaved into 1,000 zhong-long chain. Creak! The chain flew through the air, arriving in a flash. The heavily injured Li Hao could only use his spirit energy to protect his body, blocking the chain 30 zhong away from his body. From afar, Li Hao was trapped by the chain from head to toe, unable to escape. Fight to the death. There was only one meaning in Li Hao's heart. That was, only when Su Yu died would the battle end. But at this moment, the meaning was completely reversed. If he, Li Hao, did not die, Su Yu would not rest. Feeling death approaching, Li Hao's eyes were bloodshot as he roared. You really want to kill me? You have to leave a way out for yourself. Leave a way out? Su Yu's eyes were ice cold. I do not like to kill, but you must die. Forging you for Xiener and for Yin Yan. If he let such a venomous snake go today, they would be the victims tomorrow. How could Su Yu be merciful when he had to eliminate all evil? If they were to be harmed one day, Su Yu would never be at peace. The last shred of hope in his heart was extinguished. Li Hao let out a venomous roar. Su Yu, I will not let you off even if I become a ghost. Then I shall destroy your soul. Su Yu's expression was calm, unaffected by the venomous roar, his finger lightly tugging. Creak! The intertwining chains instantly split into many sharp, transparent threads. With a force, the threads suddenly tightened. Crack! Thump! Li Hao's protective spirit energy was sliced open on the spot, countless threads capable of slicing through anything penetrating his body. In an instant, pieces of neatly sliced flesh fell from the sky. Not even his bones remained, a tragic way of dying. With Li Hao gone, Su Yu felt much more at ease. Li Hao was like a thorn in his heart, making it difficult for him to rest. Su Yu would not allow what had happened to Zhao Guang to happen again. Retracting his divine ice threads, Su Yu descended and found Wang Li's token. With this, Su Yu had killed a total of 3 members of the Empire of Darkness. The pretty lady at 4th level lower tier Holy King, Chen Yu at 4th level upper tier Holy King, and Wang Li at 4th level peak Holy King. Of the 4 members of the group of murderers, 3 had been killed by Su Yu alone. According to the honor calculation, Su Yu had obtained a total of 35 honor points and 35 medium-grade marrow cleansing elixirs. The harvest from this trip was greater than he had expected. Not only had he obtained the rare secret soul attack technique Moon Eyes, but he had also obtained the artifact control technique, an ancient secret technique that allowed him to control divine artifacts, as well as a fragment of an immortal level technique that he had yet to fully comprehend. His cultivation level had also risen to 3rd level lower tier Holy King, all the way to 3rd level peak Holy King, only a step away from 4th level Holy King. If he could successfully obtain the high-grade marrow cleansing elixir rewarded by the faction, he would be able to become a 4th level Holy King, fulfilling the registration requirements for the Xianyan contest. Half a month had passed, and there were only a few days left before the registration ended. It's time to go back and participate in the registration. Su Yu clenched his fists, his lips forming a confident smile. Xiener, wait for me. There will definitely be a place for me, Su Yu, in the ancient Xianyan temple. I'll get the Phoenix Blood Elixir for you. Rumble. Ah. Suddenly, the sound of an intense battle could be heard. From the horizon, 3 terrifying auras were rolling toward them. At a glance, a snow-white snow lion that was the size of a small hill and a cold and resolute young man joined forces to pursue a young man that was covered in blood. The one being chased was Song Qingshan, and the people chasing him were Li Xiaowei and that terrifying snow lion. With their combined forces, how could Song Qingshan be a match for them? Retreating step by step, he could only run for his life. His clothes were torn, and there was a terrifying claw mark on his chest, nearly splitting him in half. His abdomen had also suffered a vicious palm strike, and his flesh was a mess. Under such a chase, danger surrounded them. So you knew this was not good. This coniferous pine forest was one of the routes to leave the Wulong snowfield. As luck would have it, Song Qingshan's escape route was this one. Su Yu wanted to avoid it, but it was too late. What made Su Yu even more furious was that Song Qingshan's sharp eyes had suddenly discovered Su Yu's presence. A vicious look flashed past his eyes, and he shouted at the pursuing Li Xiaowei. He is Su Yu, the one who killed your members. He is also a disciple of the Lucian faction. He has seen all the treasures in the 2 jade boxes. Every debt has its debtor. You could just look for him. After saying this, he fled in another direction. Su Yu was furious. Chapter 149. Roar. The slightly intelligent snow lion glared at Su Yu with its ferocious bloody eyes, roaring. Obviously, it had an impression of Su Yu. First, Song Qingshan had betrayed him. Then the snow lion was enraged. Li Xiaowei could confirm that the one who killed the delicate lady was Su Yu. It's you. Li Xiaowei's cold face was covered in frost. Snow lion, I'll leave him to you. Li Xiaowei ordered coldly, chasing after Song Qingshan himself. In terms of individual combat power, the snow lion was weaker than Song Qingshan without a leader, so he had to personally pursue Su Yu. Roar. The snow lion let out a roar. Su Yu's figure was reflected in its ferocious, blood-red eyes. Like a small mountain, it came crashing down. Su Yu's expression changed. A 5th-level holy king demonic beast. Whoosh! Su Yu immediately spread his icy divine wings, escaping. Rumble. But he only managed to escape for a moment. A black shadow attacked from behind. Looking back, the snow lion had easily caught up to Su Yu. A mouthful of icy blue energy was spat out. Creak! The air froze blue. The pine needle forest within a 100-meter radius froze. Su Yu's back was also frozen. A piercing pain welled up in his heart. The blue ice invaded his body, continuously freezing it, turning his flesh into blue ice shards. What a terrifying cold energy. It was comparable to the cold energy of the icy pearl in the icy azure lake. At the critical moment, Su Yu let out a low grunt, the blue cold energy in his body turning into flames that spread throughout his body, expelling the blue cold energy from his body. The two were in a stalemate for a moment, but the blue cold energy was finally expelled from his body due to lack of support. Roar! The snow lion roared, once again spitting out a mouthful of blue cold energy. Su Yu's gaze was cold. Evil creature, heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. The flame spear in his palm pierced through the sky, shooting forward. But the snow lion's bloody eyes flashed with a look of contempt. It raised its house-sized paw and slammed it down. Creak! The powerful heavenly punishment of ice and thunder was instantly destroyed. Not even a strand of its hair was harmed. Divine Ice Ring. Countless divine ice threads weaved into a giant arrow, enveloped in a terrifying cold energy, piercing its eyes. The snow lion still had a contemptuous look on its face. It opened its mouth and spat out a mouthful of icy blue air, freezing the arrow on the spot. Realizing that things were not looking good, Su Yu had a thought and wanted to retrieve his divine ice threads. However, the snow lion's eyes were filled with mockery. It opened its mouth and inhaled, swallowing all of Su Yu's divine ice threads into its stomach. Su Yu was left with an empty divine ice ring, unable to unleash its power. The divine weapon that he had been relying on was actually snatched away. At the same time that his heart was filled with hatred, Su Yu spread his wings and flew away again. A 5th-level holy king was a high-level existence among the holy kings. Compared to a 4th-level holy king, there was an insurmountable gap. Roar. However, after flying for a while, the snow lion actually roared angrily, opened its huge mouth that was the size of a small house, and suddenly sucked. Walala. In an instant, the airflow became turbulent, forming a huge whirlpool. Su Yu felt as if he was in the middle of a torrent, and he could not help but be sucked into the giant mouth. Su Yu's expression changed slightly. He gathered all the spirit energy in his body and resisted crazily. However, the snow lion's eyes were filled with disdain. It suddenly exerted its strength, and a strong suction force suddenly erupted. Walala! Large swathes of trees were uprooted from the ground, and there were even human-sized rocks. Like raindrops, they were all swallowed into the giant mouth. Puff! Suyu was struck by the debris that swept towards him. He let out a low grunt, and there was a metallic taste in his mouth. Suyu could no longer resist, and he was completely swallowed into the snow lion's mouth that was the size of a small house. The snow lion's blood-red eyes glowed with savagery. The moment Suyu was sucked in, the giant mouth closed. Its fangs, which were several meters long, were uneven, sharp, and hard. This bite actually wanted to tear Suyu into minced meat. Suyu's eyes were cold and resolute. At the critical moment, he let out a furious roar, seal of time. Crack! The snow lion froze in an instant, but its huge mouth still bit down due to inertia. Heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Suyu condensed a long spear and blasted it into the snow lion's mouth. Rumble! The billowing waves of energy carried flesh and blood, blowing up a small portion of the snow lion's giant mouth. Fresh blood splattered, and pieces of flesh flew. A huge gap appeared in the snow lion's mouth, and fresh blood sprayed out. It was hideous. Roar! The seal of time was lifted, and the extreme pain caused the snow lion to fall to the ground. It roared and rolled around crazily. Its mouth let out a tragic roar. The strong air current completely engulfed Suyu, who was in the giant mouth, into its stomach. Plop! Suyu fell into its stomach. The strong acid corroded Suyu's body. Waves of burning pain shot straight to his soul. Suyu's expression changed. He immediately rose into the air, grabbing onto the walls of the stomach. But even the walls of the stomach had acid, and Suyu could not exert any force on it. Was he not doomed to die, destined to turn into a pool of blood? Suddenly, Suyu caught a glimpse of the divine ice threads that had been swallowed. Floating in the terrifying acid, it did not rot in the slightest. His expression was joyful, and he grabbed it. Creak! Dozens of divine ice threads pierced into the stomach, interweaving to form a giant net. Suyu leaped, sitting on the giant net to avoid being corroded by the acid. But this was not a long-term solution. The air was filled with acid gas. Even though it was weak, it was not suitable to stay for long. But it was also not suitable to leave the snow lion's body. Once the enraged snow lion found out that Suyu was still alive, the chances of him dying under the frenzied attacks of a fifth-level Holy King were very high. What should he do? There were only a few days left until the registration for the ancient Xianyun Temple contest. If he missed the deadline, he would not be able to enter the ancient Xianyun Temple contest in 2 months to obtain the Phoenix Blood Elixir for Xianer. Without the Phoenix Blood Elixir, he could only watch as Xianer died in pain, or give her to Chao Xian. Xianer! Suyu clenched his fists, caught between a rock and a hard place. Suddenly, Suyu felt a bone-chilling cold air coming from the walls of the stomach. The light blue cold air flowed along the blood vessels, lasting for a long time. Suyu's eyes lit up. Creak! 10 divine ice threads pierced into the blood vessels of the stomach wall, absorbing the cold air flowing in the blood vessels. Roar! The pain of the giant mouth cracking overshadowed the stinging pain coming from the stomach wall. The snow lion did not notice the abnormality in its stomach. Whoosh! Li Xiaowei flew back anxiously. He was entangled with Song Qingshan and was about to subdue him. Unexpectedly, the snow lion let out a pitiful cry, causing Li Xiaowei to be shocked. He immediately gave up on Song Qingshan. Landing on the ground, Li Xiaowei's expression changed when he saw the terrifying wound on the snow lion. A sliver of fear spread. The snow lion that Miss Hua lent us was crippled by that little bastard. Even someone as strong as Li Xiaowei shuddered at the mention of Miss Hua. He hurriedly took out a few precious elixirs and stuffed them into the snow lion's mouth, alleviating the pain and alleviating the injury. But the snow lion was still rolling on the ground in pain. I have no choice. I have to return to the Empire in advance. Li Xiaowei's expression was anxious. He carried the snow lion and flew away. He was so anxious that he did not even wait for Cheng Yu and Wang Li to return. A whole day passed, and the snow lion gradually calmed down. But as time passed, it became weaker and more listless. Occasionally, it would groan in pain, its entire body convulsing. Li Xiaowei did not know that there was an abnormality in its stomach, and only thought that the wound on its giant mouth was acting up. But another day passed. The snow lion was on its last breath, and the number of times it convulsed increased. Occasionally, it would spit out blood. Li Xiaowei was extremely anxious and filled with hatred. Little bastard, you killed the people of the Empire of Darkness and harmed the snow lion of the Empire of Darkness. You will die a horrible death. Swoosh, swoosh. But at that moment, all of a sudden, a strange change occurred in the surrounding spiritual energy. Waves of spiritual energy seemed to have been summoned, crazily surging toward the snow lion. No, it was surging toward its stomach. A shred of aura that had been hidden for a long time could no longer be concealed amidst the change. Signs of a breakthrough to 4th level Holy King. Li Xiaowei's expression changed. He put down the snow lion, his eyes filled with shock. Why would there be signs of a breakthrough in the snow lion's stomach? Could it be? A thought flashed past Li Xiaowei's mind, and he suddenly thought of a possibility. His expression turned cold. Little bastard, you actually hid in the snow lion's stomach to train. The anger in his heart turned into a raging flame. No wonder the snow lion was getting weaker. It was because Su Yu was still alive in its body, destroying its body. Buzz, buzz, buzz. What answered him was the aura of a 4th level Holy King. Su Yu had successfully broken through. Within 2 days, he had crazily absorbed the icy blue energy from the snow lion's bloodline, activating Sai of Ice to train. Coupled with the fact that he had previously swallowed the treasures of the blazing lion, much of the energy had not been digested in a short period of time, and it settled in his body. Su Yu had successfully broken through from 3rd level peak Holy King to 4th level Holy King at the critical moment of life and death. A power that far exceeded his previous strength welled up in his heart. Su Yu had finally met the requirements to register for the ancient Xianyun Temple contest. At the same time, after a month of being chased and being chased, Icy Divine Wings had finally broken through to Stage 1 top class after 2 days of comprehension. As for Sai of Ice, which amplified spiritual energy, it had advanced from Stage 1 top class and was only a step away from breaking through to Stage 2. However, the one that gained the most was Glazed Ice Flame, known as the most difficult and powerful legacy level technique to comprehend. It had finally broken through to Stage 1 top class after crazily swallowing the icy blue energy of the snow lion. Outside, Li Xiaowei was furious. Come out immediately, and I can still spare your life. Otherwise, Li Xiaowei was worried that Su Yu's refusal to show himself would cause the snow lion to suffer even more damage. If that was the case, he would not be able to answer to Miss Hua. Hee, as you wish, come out now. A dull sound came from the snow lion's stomach. Creak, roar. Suddenly, countless dull sounds came from the surface of the snow lion's body. The snow lion, on its last breath, seemed to be in extreme pain. It let out a blood-curdling screech and rolled around in pain. Looking at its stomach, dozens of hard, thin threads formed from cold ice had pierced through its body. Following that, dozens of thin threads suddenly cut through. Creak, roar. The snow lion was in excruciating pain. It roared at the sky and fainted on the spot from the pain. A bloody hole the size of a small house had been cut open in its stomach. A young man with rotten clothes and a putrid stench walked out of the bloody hole. Although he was in a sorry state, his expression was calm. His gaze was firm and full of vigor. How dare you hurt it? Li Xiaowei's expression was gloomy. That was Miss Hua's snow lion. How was he going to answer to her? Hurt it. Su Yu calmly glanced at the snow lion. 2 days ago, he had almost been bitten to death by this savage snow lion, so you could still vividly remember its ferocity. Creak. Su Yu flicked his finger, and the divine ice threads wrapped around the snow lion's head. The sharp threads sliced the unconscious snow lion's head off on the spot. It was better to get rid of such a harmful beast. Li Xiaowei could not stop it in time. His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. "You're asking for death." Rumble, his heart was ice cold. He could only capture Su Yu and beg for forgiveness from Miss Hua. The terrifying aura of a fifth-level lower tier Holy King spread in all directions. The terrifying force of the fist attacked with a force that could shake one's soul. The force of the fist blew Su Yu's silver hair, revealing a pair of cold eyes. Chapter 150. Hearing this, Li Xiaowei's expression changed greatly. Total annihilation? Cheng Yu and Wang Li, who were chasing after you, have all. At that moment, Li Xiaowei saw something bulging in Su Yu's chest. It was the outline of the token. At that moment, his mind rumbled. They were actually all killed by this kid. Shock and anger transformed into a bellyful of flames that burned his chest as if it was about to explode. Their team had actually been wiped out. The enemy was neither a fifth-level Holy King nor a fourth-level Holy King, but a third-level Holy King. "You are unforgivable." Li Xiaowei's eyes were bloodshot. His palm strikes suddenly became several times fiercer. The frightening power was about to turn Su Yu into ashes. However, Su Yu was not afraid. With a calm expression, he calmly extended a finger. "Those who kill will be killed by others. You shall die together with them." Su Yu was calm and confident. A magnificent flame gradually gathered at the tip of his finger. The flames burned quietly without any heat, neither cold nor hot, but they carried an indescribably terrifying destructive force. Li Xiaowei's expression stiffened. The flames on his fingertips actually gave him a feeling of fear and trepidation. Not good. Li Xiaowei had a lot of battle experience. Sensing that something was amiss, he made a prompt decision. He spread the wings on his back, and when he was about to collide with Su Yu, he soared into the sky and widened the distance between them. His eyes were filled with deep fear as he stared at the flames on his fingertips. His heart was in turmoil. What kind of move is that? Why is it so terrifying? Why do I feel like I will perish if I touch it? Then, thinking about how this young man was able to kill 3 of his subordinates when he was only a third-level Holy King, a feeling of unfathomability welled up in his heart. His intuition told him that this kid wasn't an ordinary person, and he couldn't fight him. "Junior, Lucian faction Su Yu, I will remember this. The Empire of Darkness will find you one day. Get ready." Whoosh! After saying this, Li Xiaowei actually fled for his life. Su Yu hesitated for a moment as he stared at the back of his opponent, who was running away. In the end, he gave up. Firstly, in terms of speed, he was no match for a fifth-level Holy King, and it would be difficult for him to catch up. Secondly, he was running out of time. There were only 3 days left until the registration deadline for the ancient Xianyan Temple. "You ran fast." Su Yu was not satisfied. The magnificent, raging flame on his fingertip slowly extinguished. However, killing a snow lion wasn't a complete waste of time. Since they were both fifth-level Holy Kings, this snow lion could naturally be exchanged for 100 honor points. In addition to the 3 people he had killed earlier, he could redeem a total of 135 honor points. Grabbing the severed head of the snow lion, Su Yu flew back to the faction. In these 3 days, they only rested and ate for a short period of time. The rest of the time, they hurried on with their journey. If she delayed the registration, she would not be able to enter the ancient Xianyan Temple, and Xianer's situation would be extremely worrying. "Xianer, wait for me." His mind was filled with longing for Xianer's beautiful figure, and he focused on rushing forward. Finally, 3 days later, outside the sect, a group of patrolling Outer Sanctum disciples was dumbfounded. A frail young man with tattered clothes and pale hair was carrying a terrifying head the size of a house on his head. The blood on the head had dried up, but there was still a ferocious aura that made people tremble. Bang! When he descended from the sky, it was like an earthquake, and the earth trembled slightly. "Su, it's senior brother Su Yu." The patrolling Outer Sanctum disciple finally recognized Su Yu. That unique silver hair was Su Yu's trademark. "Senior brother Su is back." The patrolling outer sanctum disciple cheered in awe, joyfully welcoming him. The legendary figure of the outer sanctum, Suyu, had returned, and he had even brought back the corpse of a terrifying demonic beast. "Where is the third elder?" Suyu asked hurriedly. After handing over the mission, he wanted to immediately register. After 3 days and 3 nights of traveling, his spirit energy had been depleted, and he was exhausted, but he still managed to rush back. Today was the last day of registration, and Suyu was not late. At the Golden Bell Hall, gathering the inner sanctum disciples to issue an urgent mission. Golden Bell Hall? Suyu nodded slightly, and with the giant head on his back, he left in a flash. The spacious hall of the Golden Bell was the same as it was a month ago. The third elder once again rang the bell, issuing an urgent mission. In front of the bell, Song Qingshan was covered in blood, and he had suffered many injuries. He had luckily escaped from Li Xiaowei, and his injuries were not light. He had recovered his strength while escaping, and thus had just returned. The third elder immediately gathered the inner sanctum disciples, preparing to issue a new mission. At this moment, Song Qingshan was like a hero who had returned. He was the center of attention, recounting his experiences in front of hundreds of inner sanctum disciples. "Fellow brothers and sisters, I am useless. I'm the only one who survived. The rest of my juniors have all died." Song Qingshan's face was filled with sorrow. "It is my fault, and I am willing to accept punishment." The inner sanctum disciples sighed in their hearts. Such an outcome was already within their expectations. The group of 6 was just sending themselves to their deaths. To be able to escape back to Song Qingshan and bring back concrete information about the murderer was already something to be thankful about. In the gloomy atmosphere, Song Qingshan narrated sorrowfully. "My juniors and I encountered the murderer. The strongest among them were 2 5th-level lower-tier holy kings, 1 human and 1 demon. There was also a 4th-level lower-tier, upper-tier, and peak-tier holy king. We were caught off guard, and they attacked us. The rest of us all died in battle, and only I survived." 2 5th-level holy kings? Indeed, everyone's hearts trembled. No wonder the team that was previously escorting the treasure was completely annihilated. There were 2 5th-level holy kings. The third elder's heart gradually calmed down. After understanding the enemy's overall strength, it was worth it to sacrifice so much. Lightly patting Song Qingshan's shoulder, the third elder's face was filled with sorrow. He consoled him. "You have done your best. There is no need to be sad. This time, you have successfully investigated the enemy's strength and contributed greatly to our success in killing them all. Even though you did not kill a single one of them, my promise has not changed. The person who contributed the most will be able to enter the depository of scriptures once." Hearing this, the eyes of the inner sanctum disciples turned red with jealousy. Song Qingshan's face was filled with sorrow, but his heart was filled with joy. Such a wonderful thing had actually happened to him. But at this moment, in an inconspicuous corner of the crowd, a cold voice came. "How did Suyu die?" The crowd looked over. Their eyes were filled with amazement, and many of them were filled with admiration. A graceful and beautiful lady with a curvaceous body stood alone in the corner. She had a classical and elegant face, like a lady from a Jiangnan painting, elegant and beautiful. In particular, that cold aura that repelled people 1,000 miles away made people want to conquer her. This person was one of the 4 great core disciples, Mo Wu, the number 1 beauty of the inner sanctum. Known as the Ice Beauty, she was the goal of countless disciples. Song Qingshan's heart skipped a beat. He knew better than anyone how Suyu died. It was because he shifted the blame to lessen the pressure on Suyu that he managed to escape. As for Suyu's safety, there was no doubt that anyone below 5th-level Holy King would die. However, along the way, Song Qingshan had already prepared an excuse. With a face full of sorrow, he said, "Senior sister, in order to cover for us, junior brother Su took the initiative to lead the enemy to escape. His whereabouts are unknown. The last thing I saw was him being chased by a 5th-level Holy King Snow Lion. Being chased by a 5th-level Holy King Snow Lion? The crowd was shocked and secretly felt pity for him. Mo was stunned for a long time. After a while, she let out a low sigh. She felt a sense of relief, but also a sense of loss. Her master's extra care for Suyu had caused her, who had enjoyed being pampered for many years, to feel a sense of crisis. But for some reason, thinking about Suyu's undying will at the Fallen Star contest and his unrepentant death at the wedding, she felt as if she had lost something. In the future, she would probably never see that stubborn and unyielding figure again. If her master knew of his death, would she be sad for him? Feeling sad, Imowu lowered her head and left expressionlessly. The third elder sighed in his heart. Had the young man who had volunteered himself also perished? If he had known this would happen, why did he agree to enlist him? Restraining his emotions, the third elder's face was filled with grief and indignation. Killing my Lucian faction's disciples twice is unforgivable. Who would like to sign up for this urgent mission? The mission requirement is that you have to be at least a 5th-level lower-tier Holy King. With the specific number of people, abilities, and range of activity, it would be easier to capture and kill them. In an instant, the high-level Holy King disciples, who had been waiting for a long time, responded. The most dangerous part of exploring the path had been completed. They only needed to sit back and enjoy the fruits of their labor. The excited crowd was carrying the corpses that had already perished and would forever be left in the cold Wulong snowfield. But at this moment, an indifferent voice came from outside the door. Cancel the mission. There is no longer a need to execute it. The excited crowd instantly became silent. Someone actually dared to defy the faction's mission and spout nonsense here? But what really made them silent was the figure standing at the door with his hands clasped behind his back. Imowu walked with her head lowered. Just as she reached the door, she was caught off guard as a figure descended from the sky and plunged into his embrace. The wide and warm chest and the familiar scent of a man caused Imowu, who had been in a daze, to suddenly wake up. She looked up, and her beautiful eyes widened. Suyu. Immediately, it was unknown whether she was happy or angry. If you're not dead, you should have shown yourself earlier. At the same time that her heart once again felt threatened, she felt inexplicably relaxed. Suyu's face turned slightly red. He was in a hurry and did not pay attention to the situation in the hall. As such, he had descended in a hurry and did not expect Mo to fall into his embrace. Her soft and wonderful body carried a delicate fragrance into his nose, especially the pair of full and mature breasts that pressed against Suyu's chest. The elastic, soft, and warm sensation was enchanting. Even though she was cold, her fragrant body was extraordinary. Mo-Wu's face turned slightly red, as if she had felt the difference from their intimate contact. She glared fiercely at Suyu and left with a cold expression. You're not dead? Song Qingshan looked as if he had seen a ghost. Being chased by 2 5th-level Holy Kings, he actually did not die. Song Qingshan's heart skipped a beat, feeling extremely guilty. Haha, thanks to senior brother Song, I was lucky enough to keep my life. Suyu stepped inside and shot a cold glare at him. The third elder and many inner sanctum disciples were shocked. Many 4th-level peak Holy Kings had fallen, but Suyu, a mere 3rd-level Holy King, had returned alive. Heavens! He actually broke through to 4th-level Holy King from 3rd-level lower-tier Holy King. Someone with sharp eyes immediately noticed the change in Suyu's aura. Not only did he not die, but he also obtained a great opportunity. This is unbelievable. The third elder was stunned for a moment, his heart slightly relaxed, and he smiled. It's good that he came back alive. After a moment of silence, the third elder said, both of you brought back specific information about the enemy for the faction. Your contributions are equal. But considering that Song Qingshan was the leader, the descending into the depository of scriptures will be obtained by him. Your contribution can be exchanged for 10 points of honor. How lucky! Not only did he escape with his life, he can also obtain 10 points of honor. If I had his luck, I would have joined the team long ago. TSK. Escaping like a stray dog. What is there to be envious about? A fifth-level upper tier, Holy King sneered. He only used the blood of his dead brothers to gain the sympathy of the faction and some rewards. We are the true heroes who exterminated the murderers. Hearing this, many people secretly nodded. If not for the fact that they had narrowly escaped death, why would the faction reward them? Rather than saying it was a reward, it was more like charity to appease them. In terms of killing the enemy and avenging their dead brothers, they still had to rely on them. No need. So you walked over with his hands clasped behind his back. He was actually contradicted in front of everyone. The third elder was a little embarrassed, his heart filled with anger. Why? He asked expressionlessly. Because the credit that belongs to me, Suyu, is not something that can be shared by just anyone. Suyu reached deep into his robes and took out 3 tokens, slamming them onto the table. Everyone looked over, their pupils dilating. Chapter 151. The tokens were black in color and engraved with different names. Are these the tokens they carried with them? After a long while, a disciple finally spoke with uncertainty. Firstly, Song Qingshan had yet to reveal the true identity of the killers, so the tokens were suspicious. Secondly, was it possible for Suyu to kill 3 people alone? Whoosh! However, the third elder's figure flickered. With a wave of his sleeves, he took all 3 tokens into his sleeves. His face was solemn, and the depths of his eyes were filled with fear. The 3 people you killed, what were their appearances and abilities like? The third elder had naturally heard Song Qingshan's account of the situation and wanted to verify it. Suyu calmly said, a beautiful lady at 4th level lower tier Holy King, a prodigy of souls at 4th level upper tier Holy King, and the black-robed Wang Li who was a 4th level peak Holy King. The fear in the third elder's eyes gradually faded as he nodded slightly. These are indeed the 3 killers. Suyu killed 3 of them alone. The merit is great. The reward for entering the depository of scriptures should indeed belong to him. These words caused an uproar. How is that possible? Looking at his aura, he should have just broken through to 4th level lower tier Holy King not long ago. How could he kill 3 people in a row? Someone questioned. Third elder, this is absolutely impossible. Just based on his words and 3 baffling tokens, how can you determine that the merit belongs to him? The 5th level upper tier Holy King was indignant. If Suyu really killed all the killers alone, how could they have a chance to snatch the merit? The third elder secretly touched the 3 tokens in his sleeves, his heart trembling. It was the Empire of Darkness. Hearing this, his old eyes slightly narrowed. Are you doubting my judgment? With that, the group of powerful fighters fell silent. But deep down, they were all indignant. Then, where are the remaining 2 5th level lower tier Holy Kings? The third elder asked. The 2 of them had not been apprehended yet, so the mission had to continue. Li Xiaowei escaped. Suyu replied truthfully. Escaped? Several 5th level Holy Kings could not help but mock. So you're so strong. You could even scare off a 5th level Holy King. Suyu calmly glanced at them, not bothering to explain. The third elder understood the hidden meaning. Li Xiaowei escaped. But where's the 5th level Holy King demonic beast? Where are you hiding? Even if there was only 1 5th level Holy King left, they had to capture and kill him to give the faction an explanation. Upon hearing this, all the 5th level Holy Kings were slightly shaken. Even if there's only 1 5th level Holy King demonic beast left, it would still be worth it for them to make a move. A full 100 honor points could be exchanged for a legendary high-grade marrow cleansing elixir. Even in the great sects, there weren't many such pills. Even core disciples might not be able to use them as they pleased. They had to fight for honor points to exchange for them. However, Suyu calmly uttered a sentence that caused everyone to stiffen. Just outside, the spacious hall suddenly became deathly silent. Even the third elder was stunned. Outside, what did this mean? Filled with doubts, the crowd walked to the entrance and saw a gigantic head the size of a small house lying outside the hall, dripping with blood. Song Qingshan sucked in a breath of cold air. That snow lion that can spit out ice. It was actually killed. At that moment, the way everyone looked at Su Yu had changed. Not only could Su Yu scare away a 5th-level Holy King, but he could also kill a 5th-level Holy King. Not just the ordinary disciples, even the 3rd Elder was deeply shocked. The 3 tokens might not be able to prove anything, but the bloody heads of the demonic beasts were irrefutable evidence. Su Yu deserves the right to enter the depository of scriptures. Furthermore, according to the rules, the 135 honor points can be exchanged for elixirs. The crowd's expressions were ugly, either jealous or secretly hateful. They had originally thought that the 6-man group was just a scout. Who knew that Su Yu, whom no one had taken seriously, would appear? In the end, the murderers were almost completely annihilated by him. All the credit was taken by Su Yu alone. The opportunity to read legacy-level cultivation techniques at the depository of scriptures was a rare opportunity. There was also the legendary high-grade marrow cleansing elixir, which was said to have an unimaginable effect on cultivation-based breakthroughs. Many of them were filled with regret. They should have joined the 6-man group back then. Song Qingshan's expression was uncertain. He had escaped death, and the right to enter the depository of scriptures that should have belonged to him had been easily taken by Su Yu. Elder, I can't accept this. Song Qingshan clenched his fists in dissatisfaction. The 3rd Elder looked over indifferently. What do you have to accept? Su Yu clearly had the help of an expert in secret. This is not fair. Song Qingshan replied firmly. Many 5th-level Holy Kings secretly nodded. Not only Song Qingshan, but they also had their doubts. Su Yu killing 3 4th-level Holy Kings was still acceptable. After all, Su Yu had a record of defeating Chao Xian. But a 5th-level Holy King was too absurd. Not only did Su Yu escape from a 5th-level Holy King, he had also killed him and chased away another 5th-level Holy King. This was unbelievable. The only possibility was that someone was secretly helping Su Yu. As for who it was, the crowd was clear as a mirror. Other than the 2nd Elder, who was biased towards Su Yu, who else could it be? You want me to retract my orders based on speculation without any evidence? The 3rd Elder's expression turned cold as he lightly shouted, although he had also guessed that Su Yu had the help of the 2nd Elder. But this matter concerned the 2nd Elder. He naturally had to smooth things over. The crowd's hearts trembled, and they all fell silent. But like Song Qingshan, their gazes towards Su Yu were filled with hostility, jealousy, and contempt. After the 3rd Elder had left, the crowd finally erupted. Song Qingshan's heart was burning with jealousy, and he took the opportunity to make things difficult for Su Yu. Su Yu, since you had the help of an expert, why did you sit back and watch your seniors die in vain? Su Yu slightly creased his brows. I was alone, with no one to help me. Su Yu, Song Qingshan sternly shouted, opening his mouth to reprimand. I know that the seniors in the team had indeed looked down on you, and that was why their words were offensive. But you could have saved them. Why did you watch them die? So if there was such a thing, how narrow-minded. A 5th-level Holy King's face was filled with disgust. I really feel sorry for the seniors who died. Let's go. This kind of person who has no ties with the same faction, I'm afraid one day I will be killed by him. Another 5th-level Holy King lightly snorted. Go, go, go. Ignore him. Let him enjoy the merits exchanged with the blood of his seniors. Yes, I have just returned to the faction, and I have to immediately register for the senior contest. Otherwise, I will not be qualified to compete in 2 months. Whoosh! Groups of people passed by Su Yu with cold and disdainful expressions. He was clearly a hero who had avenged the deaths of his seniors, but at this moment, he was being ostracized and neglected by the crowd. Standing among the crowd, Su Yu did not explain. He had monopolized all the benefits, attracting the jealousy of others. That was the source of his slander and neglect. This was human nature, and Su Yu did not bother to argue. After the mission handover, Su Yu was left with the most important thing, registration. Today was the last day, and he could still make it. Along the way to the External Affairs Division, he could occasionally catch a glimpse of disciples hurrying back from outside the faction. Many of them were like Su Yu, carrying out a mission outside and rushing back. When Su Yu arrived, there were already many disciples present. For example, Song Qingshan and a few fifth-level holy kings who had reprimanded him were among them. It was early in the morning, and the External Affairs Division had just opened. Shi Ruolin and Qin Gang walked out, calmly glancing at the surrounding crowd, slightly frowning. Is something the matter? Shi Ruolin's gaze was calm. When her gaze swept past Su Yu, her pupils slightly shrank, but she quickly acted as if nothing had happened. Song Qingshan was respectful and courteous. Clan Master Shi, we are all disciples here to register for the Xianyun contest. We hope that Clan Master Shi can make things convenient for us. That day, the urgent mission had come in a hurry, and Song Qingshan had not registered. The rest of the disciples had left the faction a month ago and had missed the opportunity. Registration? Qin Gang raised his eyebrows. Did you not receive an announcement from the faction? Everyone's expressions changed. What announcement? A bad feeling welled up in their hearts. Deputy Clan Master Qin, we were carrying out a mission outside and have only just returned today. We really do not know what announcement the faction has made, Song Qingshan said solemnly. Qin Gang's expression changed, and he turned back to exchange a look with Shi Ruolin. He then announced with slight regret, you came back late? 3 days ago, the quota for registration had reached 300 people. The quota has been filled, and the registration ended 3 days ago. Looking at the few fifth-level holy kings in the crowd, Qin Gang secretly felt pity. These words caused a huge uproar, and the crowd was in an uproar. There were 30 of them, and their abilities were all above fourth-level holy kings. They had finally returned from carrying out a mission, only to receive the news that the quota had been filled. What kind of joke is this? I have waited for 3 whole years for the ancient Xianyun temple, and now the quota has been filled? A youth who was over 20 years old could not accept the sudden reality before his eyes. Yes. Why? The registration for the previous contest was based on the deadline. Why has it suddenly changed to the quota being filled, and the deadline has been brought forward? Another fifth-level holy king suppressed his anger, trying his best to calm himself down. Song Qingshan's eyes lost focus, and he said in a daze, How? How is this possible? I have lost the right to register? Thud, thud. Su Yu staggered 2 steps back. The sudden announcement had cut off all his hopes. This was the only shortcut to save Xianyun. If he had lost the chance to register, how could he enter the ancient Xianyun temple? And how could he find the Phoenix blood elixir to save Xianyun? He had accepted the mission, even though he knew it was a suicide mission, in order to break through to 4th-level Holy King and fulfill the registration requirements. The ridiculous and laughable thing was that he had painstakingly raised his cultivation base to 4th-level Holy King and rushed back at the last moment, only to be rejected by the cruel fact that the quota had been filled. Could it be that he really had to give Xianyun to Chao Xian? Seeing that the commotion was getting bigger, Qin Gang was gradually losing control. The disciples who could carry out missions outside the faction for a long time were all 4th-level Holy Kings and above, and there were many who were stronger than Qin Gang. There was even a 5th-level Holy King among them. With such a large group of people, if they were to fight, how could he control the situation? He cast a pleading look at Shi Ruolin. Shi Ruolin pretended to be thinking, and the crowd focused their expectant gazes on her, their hearts in their throats. If they missed the ancient Xianyun temple that was held once every 5 years, they would not have another chance. But Shi Ruolin quickly gave a reply, heartless and indifferent. No, the decision of the faction cannot be changed. The registration has ended. Please leave. Seeing that the crowd was still going to cause trouble, Shi Ruolin's gaze turned cold, and she raised her palm, making a slash in the air. Crash! In the courtyard, a huge tree that was as thick as a human was broken. The remaining cold spiritual energy was like a blade scraping across the faces of the crowd, painful and cold. The faction's orders, anyone who disobeys will be beheaded. Shi Ruolin's tone was calm, but it could not hide her cold, murderous intent. The crowd was shocked, no longer daring to cause trouble, but they could not hide their suppressed grief and indignation. This matter was too unfair. They had just happened to be carrying out a mission outside. Yet they missed it. Retreat immediately. Whoever dares to cause trouble will be beheaded. Shi Ruolin coldly commanded. Just as the crowd was about to leave, a person flew out from the inner sanctum. It was none other than Wu Qingzhou. He was the only survivor of the treasure escorting team at the Abyss of Wudong. After recuperating for a month, his injuries had mostly recovered. Clan Master Shi, may I ask if the junior who killed the snow lion came here? Wu Qingzhou's face was anxious. He had chased them all the way from the Golden Bell Hall. Shi Ruolin was slightly startled, not understanding his meaning. But Song Qingshan and the rest all looked at Su Yu, who was behind the crowd. Wu Qingzhou followed their gaze, his face filled with gratitude as he flew over, cupping his fists and smiling. You are Junior Su Yu? Su Yu nodded absent-mindedly, yes. Thank you, Junior Su, for avenging my brother. He was buried in the mouth of that ferocious snow lion. Wu Qingzhou kowtowed in worship. Su Yu helped him up, listlessly smiling. I did it in passing, you don't have to thank me. Seeing that Su Yu's emotions were not right, he looked around and saw that the emotions of the 30 people had changed. He could not help but be curious. Chapter 152. What? There was another way to go? Su Yu's dazed eyes suddenly exploded with a dazzling light. Senior Wu, please say it. Not only Su Yu, but the other 29 people also looked pleasantly surprised and gathered around him. Wu Qingzhou was frightened by Su Yu's gaze and sighed softly after a while. There is indeed a way to go, but Junior Su, be mentally prepared. You may not be fated with it. Su Yu's eyes burned with an inextinguishable light of hope. Senior, please say it. The faction has 2 parts of the quota for the Xianyan contest. The first part is reserved for the disciples of the faction, which are the 300 quotas that you are familiar with. The other part is reserved for disciples who are out on missions all year round. For example, the Abyss of Wudong. There are 100 faction disciples stationed there all year round to help the faction dig for treasures. They are busy with missions and cannot rush back to the faction in time to register. Therefore, the faction has allocated 10 extra quotas to the disciples of the Abyss of Wudong. Those 10 quotas have not been decided yet. The Abyss of Wudong was an ancient relic discovered by the Lucian faction. There were some complete remnants, and shocking treasures were often found there. Many of the faction's techniques came from the Abyss of Wudong. In order to excavate there, the faction had sent over 100 disciples many years ago to continue excavating. Due to the large number, 10 extra quotas were naturally allocated. But those quotas were prepared for the seniors of the Abyss of Wudong. How could I take them? So he was puzzled. Wu Qingzhou looked slightly sad. If it was in the past, it would naturally not be allocated to Junior Su, but a month ago, when escorting the treasures back, several seniors fell. The Abyss of Wudong needs fresh blood and is currently selecting new disciples from the faction. A month ago, Wu Qingzhou and the others were attacked. That was why Su Yu accepted the mission to head to the Wulong snowfield to kill the culprit. The Abyss of Wudong had lost members and naturally had to reselect disciples from the faction to make up for the lack of manpower. If Junior Su Yu can be selected and become a member of the Abyss of Wudong, you will be eligible to compete for the top 10 quotas, Wu Qingzhou explained. Not only Su Yu, but the other 29 people were also jealous. However, what Wu Qingzhou said next made everyone feel like they had fallen into an ice cellar. However, Junior Brother Su, I hope you're mentally prepared. This selection might not be with you. For this selection, for members have already been decided internally. They're all disciples of the sect elders. You should be able to understand this point. They want to gain experience in the Abyss of Wudong for 2 months in preparation for the Xianyan contest. Therefore, there is only 1 quota left for you, Wu Qingzhou said. The Abyss of Wudong was an ancient ruin. It was rumored that it was rich in spiritual energy and was extremely good for cultivation. Moreover, it was responsible for excavating the sect's treasures. If they found something of astonishing value, they would receive an extremely generous reward. It was rumored that there was a disciple who successfully broke through to the Dragon Realm in 2 months. This was the place that the disciples of the sect yearned for. Unfortunately, most of them were controlled by the disciples or relatives of influential figures in the sect. It was difficult for ordinary disciples to get involved. There are too many people vying for the last spot. 5th-level Holy Kings are everywhere, and even 6th-level Holy Kings are participating in the fight. 6th-level Holy King? These 4 words were like a bucket of cold water, freezing their boiling hearts in an instant. Are you kidding me? With a 6th-level Holy King around, what right do we have to fight for it? Song Qingshan's face flushed red, feeling as though he had been played. Wu Qingzhou glanced at him. I'm informing Junior Brother Su. What does it have to do with you? Song Qingshan was furious, but his heart was filled with despair. That was a 6th-level Holy King. How could they fight over such a powerful being? Su Yu's heart trembled violently. A 6th-level Holy King, an unimaginably frightening level. Did he have to fight with such a strong opponent for the last spot? It was no wonder that Wu Qingzhou had said so bluntly that he might not be fated with Su Yu. This was not just a possibility. It was almost certain that he was not fated with Su Yu. However, the most despairing person in the world wasn't having little hope. It was having no hope at all. If Su Yu was given a little hope, he could create a miracle. It was like that in the past, and it was still like that now. Senior Marshal Brother Wu, please guide me. I want to participate in the assessment. The last spot belongs to me, Su Yu. Su Yu's gaze was resolute and calm. He was not afraid at all. No matter how big the storm was, he had overcome it. Why would he be afraid of tests? Wu Qingzhou was stunned for a moment. The determination in Su Yu's eyes pierced deeply into his soul. How strong must one's heart be to have such a resolute gaze? All right, I'll sign you up. The assessment will begin tomorrow. I hope you'll be prepared, Wu Qingzhou said and left. Song Qingshan gritted his teeth. Humph. Even someone at Su Yu's level can participate, so why should I be afraid? Me too. This time, without the secret help of an expert, I wonder if some people can still amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. Me too. Even if we can't get a spot, we have to beat some people back to their original state. When several pairs of eyes glanced at Su Yu, flames of jealousy still lingered in them. Su Yu's expression was calm, and he clenched his fists. The final quota for the abyss of Wudong would definitely belong to him. After a while, Su Yu left in a flash. Tomorrow was the day of the challenge. He had to do everything he could to improve his strength. The best shortcut right now was to swallow the marrow cleansing pill, especially the high-grade marrow cleansing pill. The energy contained in this pill was more than 100 middle-grade marrow cleansing pills. It was extremely difficult to refine, and the sect only had a few of them. In fact, in the sect, apart from the core disciples, no one had ever seen it before. Its specific effects were also a legend. If he could get his hands on this elixir, would Su Yu's cultivation level improve by leaps and bounds? Filled with hope, Su Yu rushed to the faction's Hall of Honor. The person in charge was an elder of 5th-level peak Holy King. I want to exchange for the marrow cleansing pill a total of 135 honor points. I want to exchange for 1 high-grade marrow cleansing pill and 35 middle-grade marrow cleansing pills. Su Yu said his name. The elder checked, and Su Yu's name indeed had 135 honor points. After confirming, the elder took out 35 middle-grade marrow cleansing pills and deducted 35 honor points from Su Yu's name. Take it. From the beginning to the end, the elder's expression did not change. Su Yu raised his eyebrows. I also want to exchange for a high-grade marrow cleansing pill. That elixir was the most important. Unexpectedly, the elder calmly said, How precious is a high-grade marrow cleansing pill? How could it be casually stored here? You need to ask the faction master to obtain it. Come back in 2 days to exchange for it. 2 days later, Su Yu's heart suddenly sank. Tomorrow was the assessment. What was the point of competing with a 6th-level Holy King 2 days later? But there were the rules of the faction. What could he do? Su Yu cupped his fists and left. Not long after he left, the old man's expression suddenly changed. He bowed respectfully towards the darkness behind him and said, 4th Elder, I've followed your orders and temporarily stopped him. However, he has second elder's protection. I'm afraid I won't be able to delay him any longer in 2 days. In the darkness, the fourth elder sighed. If not for the urgent need for a high-grade marrow cleansing pill, I would not have schemed against the junior's elixir. You do not have to worry about the rest. I will discuss it with him in 2 days. The elder respectfully acknowledged. The fourth elder urgently needed a high-grade marrow cleansing pill, and he did not know its use. It was extremely mysterious and did not want others to know. Hence, it was inconvenient for him to discuss it with the other elders. He could only act in secret and search for a high-grade marrow cleansing pill. Coincidentally, the only person who had the right to exchange for a high-grade marrow cleansing pill was Suyu. For this reason, the fourth elder secretly instructed the elder to temporarily stop Suyu with an excuse. The fourth elder would take the opportunity to converse with Suyu and promise him some benefits in exchange for a high-grade marrow cleansing pill. In reality, the elder knew that if Suyu did not have the backing of the second elder, the fourth elder's methods would not be so gentle. The saying, "A man is innocent, but treasuring a jade ring makes him guilty," could be applied anywhere. Suyu did not know that he had entered the fourth elder's line of sight. Returning to the courtyard of the second elder, Suyu rubbed the big bottle of marrow cleansing pill in his palm, preparing to crazily consume it tonight. Who knew that when he returned to the courtyard, Emo Wu was sitting alone in the courtyard. Her petite and delicate body outlined a beautiful arc in the hazy moonlight. Her classic jade-like face was exquisite and beautiful. Under the faint moonlight, it was as if a light veil was covering her face, making her look even more alluring. Only her eyes were dry and emotionless, giving off a cold feeling. "You want to participate in the assessment at the Abyss of Wudong?" Sensing that Suyu had returned, Emo Wu turned her head and asked coldly. "Why not?" Suyu asked indifferently. Emo Wu stared at Suyu and said calmly, "You give up immediately." "Why?" Suyu raised his eyebrows. His eyes were cold. If Suyu gave up, who would save Siener? "Because you cannot pass the assessment. Don't waste your time and energy. The difficulty of the assessment is higher than you think." Emo Wu's eyes were cold. "If you're just trying to persuade me to give up, then you have said what you wanted to say. I will not accompany you anymore." Suyu said indifferently and stepped into the house. Emo Wu's jade-like face was cold. She casually pointed, and a piece of paper flew towards Suyu's back. Feeling a gust of wind, Suyu turned around and grabbed it. Looking at it, it was a list. A list of participants for the assessment? Suyu was surprised. He hurriedly glanced at it. Not only was there a list of competitors from the Abyss of Wudong, there was also their corresponding cultivation base, commonly used techniques, and other detailed and clear descriptions. Knowing oneself and knowing one's enemy was the key to victory in 100 battles. Such precious information was precious to Suyu. Suyu was slightly moved. Emo Wu naturally did not need this information. She stayed in the faction all year round and was very clear about the abilities of her opponents. This was prepared for Suyu. It was Emo Wu, prepared for Suyu. Looking up, Emo Wu had already returned to her room, only leaving Suyu with a lonely and beautiful back view. Feeling grateful, Suyu bowed to her back. Although Emo Wu was cold, her heart was warm. She was a person with a cold face, but a warm heart. On a certain level, she was similar to the second elder. This pair of teacher and disciple was indeed interesting. Returning to his room, Suyu immediately memorized the list and information. A total of 100 people had registered. However, the lowest cultivation base was a 4th-level peak Holy King. There were many 5th-level Holy Kings and 30 lower-tier Holy Kings. There were 10 upper-tier Holy Kings. There were 2 peak-tier Holy Kings. The most ridiculous thing was that there was actually a 6th-level Holy King who had registered. This 6th-level Holy King was a strong martial artist ranked 30th in the faction. With his abilities, he rarely met a worthy opponent in the faction. Now, he actually wanted to compete with him for the same spot. A heavy pressure made it difficult for Suyu to breathe. Such a competition was so intense that it made one's hair stand on end. Chapter 153. Suyu felt immense pressure as he memorized the name list. Taking a deep breath, Zhang Xian took out a large bottle of blue middle-grade marrow cleansing pills. A total of 35. Would he be able to break through successfully? With anticipation, Suyu swallowed a medium-grade marrow cleansing elixir. The powerful medicinal power spread through his limbs and bones as usual. However, his cultivation did not improve as he had imagined. Filled with doubts, Suyu swallowed 4 pills consecutively, but the results were the same. After the powerful medicinal energy entered his body, it immediately settled in his bloodline, not advancing his cultivation. What's going on? Suyu opened his eyes, which were filled with bewilderment. Why are the elixirs no longer effective on me? Filled with unwillingness, Suyu swallowed 10 pills consecutively, but there was still no reaction. Finally, after swallowing all the pills, the medicinal energy still settled into his blood vessels. Suyu's expression was slightly unsightly, and after observing his body for a long time, he couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Could it be that the hidden danger left behind from that time caused my body to become immune to the medicinal power? The drawbacks of swallowing the Inferno Lion's heavenly treasures had finally appeared. Those were spirit treasures that had never been purified, and the energy they contained was too strong. His body had adapted to the violent energy. Now, his body was actually immune to the gentle energy of the pill. Although he only needed to wait for a period of time, his body would return to normal. However, tomorrow was the assessment of the Abyss of Wudong. It was urgent for him to raise his cultivation level. Filled with helplessness and bitterness, Suyu gave up on training and focused on comprehending his cultivation technique until dawn. The artifact control technique was only a remnant of Stage 1 lower class, but there were already signs of it being comprehended successfully. During the 3-day journey, Suyu made use of his time to comprehend it. After a night of meditation, the conditions were finally ripe, and he had successfully cultivated the only small accomplishment. He could finally unleash the power of the divine ice ring. Suyu was looking forward to the specific power of the divine artifact. However, what made Suyu feel helpless was that he had only scratched the surface of the remnant of the immortal level cultivation technique, which contained more than 100 words. It would still take him some time to comprehend all of them. Dong dong, there was a knock on the door. It was Mo Wu. Without waiting for Suyu to open the door, she left behind some cold words and left. Abyss of Wudong Assessment. Inner Sanctum Martial Arts Competition Room. Inner Sect Martial Competition Room? Suyu headed there immediately. The sparring room was a place for inner disciples to spar with one another. The area was not big, and it could only accommodate 1,000 people. It was far from the grandeur of the Outer Sanctum's 10,000 people arena. However, the sparring room had all the necessary facilities. Not only did it provide a stage for sparring, but it also provided many cultivation tools. It was far from what the Outer Sanctum could compare to. After all, this place was prepared for outstanding inner court disciples. When Suyu arrived, most of the people were already there. Among them were Song Qingshan, several 5th-level holy kings who were jealous of him in the Golden Bell Hall, and Mo Wu. As if she had felt Suyu's gaze, Mo Wu's beautiful eyes glanced at Suyu before she looked away expressionlessly. Could it be that she was also participating in the assessment of the Abyss of Wudong? Thinking back to what Wu Qingzhou had said, that the 4 quotas had already been predetermined by the elders and disciples, the corner of his mouth twitched. One of the predetermined quotas was actually Mo Wu. Soon, when all the competitors had arrived, 2 old men walked in. One of them was the 3rd elder, whom he had met before, and the other was an unfamiliar old man. 4th elder. In order to select qualified disciples, he, who was guarding the Abyss of Wudong, specially rushed back. An excited voice could be faintly heard. 4th elder? Suyu secretly sized him up. He was about 60 years old, with a square head and big ears, serious in speech and manner. Although he was old, his back was ramrod straight, unmoving like a mountain, dignified and solemn. Since everyone is here, Let us begin the assessment. The fourth elder looked around and indifferently said, since the third elder already knew about the Empire of Darkness killing the disciples of the Abyss of Wudong, it was reasonable for him to assist the fourth elder in selecting suitable disciples to be stationed in the Abyss of Wudong. The first round of assessment is a competition of movement techniques. Suyu raised his eyebrows. Wasn't the quota to be determined through a competition? Looking at the crowd again, he was also surprised. The Abyss of Wudong is filled with danger. If there is an emergency, movement techniques are the foundation for survival. Therefore, the first round of assessment is movement techniques. The fourth elder said solemnly. Method of assessment. Everyone flies one round around the inner sanctum meteorite. The first 50 who arrive can enter the next round. The rest will be eliminated. The inner sanctum was surrounded by 17 meteorites. It was the largest meteorite with a radius of 10 miles. With the speed of a 4th level Holy King, it would take about 10 minutes. A 5th level Holy King would need half a cup of tea's time. There was 1 6th level Holy King, 42 5th level Holy Kings, and 57 4th level Holy Kings. It was obvious that all the 4th level Holy Kings would be eliminated. Among the 4th level Holy Kings, only those with outstanding movement techniques could advance to the next round of challenge. The time limit is 10 minutes. Now begin. Following the fourth elder's order, 100 people flew out in unison, using their movement techniques with all their might as they hurried on their way. Suyu spread his spirit energy wings and flew high up in the sky, preparing to change into the icy divine wings. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew, pushing Suyu to one side. Caught off guard, he nearly stumbled and fell. Frowning, he looked over. It was Song Qingshan and a few 5th level Holy Kings with ill intentions. They were intentionally using the frightening spirit energy of a 5th level Holy King to push Suyu to one side. Isn't this the Suyu who could kill a 5th level Holy King? For someone as strong as you did not get first place, you must be feeling wronged. A 5th level Holy King pursed his lips and mocked. Do you want us to move aside? Otherwise, if we leave you behind, that hidden expert of yours will find trouble with us. Suyu turned a deaf ear to him, maintaining his spirit energy wings and flying at a moderate speed, following closely behind the group of 4th level Holy Kings. Song Qingshan looked down from above, glancing at Suyu and mocking. Let's fly later. A strong martial artist who can kill a 5th level Holy King, it's better for us to obediently follow behind him. The surrounding 5th level Holy Kings had mocking looks on their faces, standing calmly with their arms crossed. Their eyes were filled with mockery. Later, when they easily overtook Suyu, his expression would be very interesting. Without the second elder's protection, what would a mere 4th level Holy King like Suyu amount to? Estimating that Suyu had already flown a few hundred meters, Song Qingshan's lips curled into a mocking smile. Circulating the spirit energy behind him, he suddenly flapped his wings. Whoosh! A remnant shadow cut through the sky, closing the distance at a shocking speed. The rest of the 5th level Holy Kings also had a playful look on their faces as they began to chase after Suyu. However, just as they were about to overtake Suyu one by one, something happened that caught them off guard. Suyu, who was neither fast nor slow, suddenly retracted his spirit energy wings. A pair of icy wings suddenly appeared on his back. They were vivid and lifelike, shaped like a swan feather. Layers of icy energy flowed, bringing with it a strong gust of wind. Icy divine wings have been cultivated to stage 1 top class. The first form of the icy divine wings had already been cultivated to its peak. At that moment, his speed far exceeded those of the same level, only below that of a 5th level Holy King, and the difference was not that great. After changing to the icy divine wings, Suyu's speed had increased dramatically. With the power of light and shadow, he suddenly cut through the sky, leaving behind a series of remnant shadows. Shuttling through the 4th level Holy Kings, he had overtaken all of them. So fast. Isn't that Suyu who is only at 4th level lower tier? What movement technique? So shocking. He's almost as fast as a 5th-level Holy King. A group of 4th-level Holy Kings who were pushed away by the strong wind exclaimed. Song Qingshan's mocking expression froze. He could not believe the scene in front of him. The speed of Su Yu's movement technique was not much weaker than his. In the blink of an eye, Su Yu had already disappeared from their field of vision. Not good. Song Qingshan's face alternated between green and red. He clenched his teeth and gave chase with all his might. The expressions of the rest of the 5th-level Holy Kings also froze, giving chase with all their might. At this moment, everyone felt their faces burning. They had initially wanted to see Su Yu's good intentions, so they had intentionally waited for him to fly a certain distance before slowly overtaking him. Who would have thought that Su Yu had hidden such a shocking movement technique? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A group of people quickly circled the inner sanctum in pursuit. The more they chased, the uglier Song Qingshan's expression became. Su Yu's movement technique was only slightly weaker than his. As a result, they were unable to close the distance of a few hundred meters. Finally, after circling one round, they returned to the competition room. The 4th Elder and the 3rd Elder stood at the entrance of the competition room, registering the names one by one. 1 6th-level Holy King and 35 5th-level Holy Kings have returned. The remaining 7 5th-level Holy Kings. Their movement techniques are a little lacking. The 3rd Elder secretly frowned. The 4th Elder's expression was solemn. There's no hurry. This should be the next batch of returnees. No one could be faster than them. Whoosh! Before he could finish his sentence, a thin and weak figure flew in first. Not only the 3rd Elder, but the 4th Elder was also stunned. Whoosh, whoosh! At this moment, the 7 5th-level Holy Kings finally caught up, panting. The 3rd Elder's eyes were filled with surprise, looking Su Yu up and down, feeling that he was a stranger. He was faster than a 5th-level Holy King. His movement technique was truly extraordinary. The 4th Elder was slightly surprised, then retracted his gaze and recorded Su Yu's ranking. When his gaze swept past Song Qingshan and the rest, he lightly snorted. Not even comparable to a 4th-level Holy King. You have been pampered for too long. Reflect on yourself. Song Qingshan and the rest were flushed, unable to lift their heads. Especially the 5th-level Holy Kings who had returned first. Among them, many had noticed that Song Qingshan and the rest had intentionally schemed against Su Yu. At this moment, they were whispering to each other, sneering. Haha, not only did they want to humiliate Su Yu, they even got ridiculed by Su Yu. Isn't this like shooting yourself in the foot? But speaking of which, Su Yu is really surprising. Even his movement technique being close to that of a 5th-level Holy King is unimaginable. Song Qingshan and the rest clenched their fists, infuriated by Su Yu. Gradually, the crowd all flew back. The first 50 people to return qualified. The remaining 50 people left dejectedly. All right, the 50 of you will proceed to the next round of assessment. This round is a test of your eyesight. The abyss of Wudong is pitch black all year round. You will not be able to see your fingers in front of you. You will need extremely strong eyesight. So this round is a test of your eyesight. According to the rules of the assessment, I will find a way to turn the competition room into a pitch black state and place 50 pieces of black paper in the room. Your task is to infuse your eyes with spirit energy, achieve the ability to see in the dark, and find the black paper. This round, only 25 people will remain. Furthermore, each piece of black paper that you find will be counted as 1 point. The points can be accumulated for the next round of assessment. In the end, the 5 people who can remain will be determined by the points. So, you must be serious. The more black paper you find, the more hope you have of passing. After the 4th Elder finished, he and the 3rd Elder looked at each other. They found black cloth and covered the entire competition room with it. In an instant, the room was completely dark. Not to mention the surrounding figures, it was difficult to even see a finger. At this moment, infusing spirit energy into both eyes would allow one to blur vision. The ability to see depended on the strength of one's spirit energy and the precision of one's control of spirit energy. It varied from person to person. Usually, people with a solid foundation would be able to use their eyesight more exquisitely. Suyu stood with his arms crossed. Deep within his pupils, a pair of crystalline pupils emitted a dim light. Chapter 154. To Suyu, the pitch-black environment was as bright as day. Whoosh! Suddenly, a faint sound entered his ears. Suyu glanced over. It was the fourth elder. In the darkness, he had quietly stuffed a piece of black paper to Mo Wu and the other 3 disciples. The fourth elder pretended that no one had noticed. He did not know that Suyu had seen everything. Was this what it meant to be internally decided? Suyu felt somewhat helpless. After that, the fourth elder threw out a large piece of black paper and scattered it in every corner of the competition room. The assessment begins. As soon as the order was given, the 50 people immediately channeled their spiritual energy into their eyes to vaguely discern the situation in the darkness. While they were still trying their best to adjust their vision, Suyu had already moved like a bolt of lightning to all the corners of the competition room. Every time he paused, he would grab a piece of black paper. In the blink of an eye, Suyu had obtained more than 5 pieces of black paper. You actually dare to snatch it. Right at this moment, a light snort floated over from the darkness. A wisp of faintly discernible, terrifying aura slowly spread out. This person was the only 6th-level Holy King, Tang Yishuan. Just as he adjusted his vision, he discovered that a black shadow had snatched the piece of black paper from his feet. He was dissatisfied. However, he did not have the time to argue with Suyu. In this stage of the test, the black paper would determine the total score. The more paper he snatched, the higher his chances of winning. Shua. As he moved quickly, Mo Wu also began to snatch. She glanced at Suyu in surprise. She had already noticed that Suyu had been snatching the black paper from the very beginning. The other Holy Kings were still working hard to revolve their spiritual energy, but Suyu treated the darkness as if it did not exist. His eyesight is that good? He doesn't even need to use his spiritual energy? Mo Wu was slightly surprised. The 3 of them plundered without restraint. At this time, everyone had just adjusted their vision and adapted to the dark environment. By the time they started searching for the black paper, more than half of it had been plundered. Some people were happy, while others were sad. A moment later, the black veil outside the house was removed. The assessment was over. Those who don't get the black paper will be eliminated. The fourth elder announced expressionlessly. Walala, in an instant, out of the 50 people, 30 left and only 20 remained. The original plan was to eliminate 25 people, but now 30 people were eliminated in one go, which somewhat exceeded the expectations of the fourth elder and the third elder. What's going on? The third elder was slightly puzzled. The fourth elder's eyes flashed. Take out your black papers and calculate your scores. Moments later, Song Qingshan, 1 card, 1 point. Tang Yishuan, 6 cards, 6 points. Mo Wu, 8 cards, 8 points. The 3 of them alone occupied 15 slots. It was no wonder that so many people were eliminated. However, in the next moment, third elder and fourth elder's expressions froze. Suyu, 19. Looking at the thick stack of black paper in Suyu's hands, everyone was shocked. Mo Wu was astonished. Even if he could see things in the dark, he shouldn't be this powerful. Could it be that his vision, other than being able to see things in the dark, was also extremely sharp and could easily observe every corner? He alone had more black paper than almost everyone else combined. After a while, the fourth elder announced, Suyu, 19 points. Next is the final test, a competition of comprehensive strength. To put simply, a duel. Was it finally time for the competition? The abyss of Wudong is quite dangerous. If you don't have enough strength, it'll be futile even if you go. Among the 20 of you, you'll compete with each other. For every person you defeat, you'll get 5 points. In the end, only the 5 people with the highest points will be left. These 5 people will be the members of the abyss of Wudong. The fourth elder solemnly announced. Everyone's blood was boiling. The final battle had finally begun. Apart from Mo Wu and the other 3 disciples, Tang Yishuan, the transcendent 6th-level Holy King, was their only target to defeat. Suyu clenched his fist. The only way to save Sienna was in front of him. Tang Yishuan was the biggest obstacle in front of him. Before the duel begins, all of you can rest and prepare. You only have an hour. After the fourth elder said this, his gaze swept past Suyu. You are Suyu? About your performance just now. Follow me, I have something to ask you. Suyu was slightly stunned. Could it be that his performance just now was too unique and aroused suspicion? Song Qingshan felt the pressure and a hint of jealousy burned in his eyes. Senior Song, could it be that this kid's performance just now was not bad and he was lucky enough to be chosen by the fourth elder? You want to give the last spot to him? I also have this worry. After all, Suyu has the second elder behind him. Song Qingshan's tiger eyes were filled with deep unwillingness and hatred. Humph, it's still early. Even if it's decided, he must have the ability to defeat us. Everyone present was a fifth-level Holy King. If Suyu could not defeat them, he would not even be able to continue. Outside the house, in a sparsely populated area, the fourth elder smiled. Suyu, your performance was not bad. I intend to recommend you to enter the abyss of Wudong. Suyu was shocked, but he quickly recovered. Thank you for your kindness, fourth elder. May I know what instructions you have for me? Intelligence beyond your age, it's surprising. The fourth elder exclaimed from the bottom of his heart. Suyu looked like he was only about 15 years old, but he was extremely intelligent and quick to react. He thought he would have to waste a lot of words, but Suyu understood immediately. I am relieved that you understand. I will give you a spot to enter the abyss of Wudong. In exchange, I hope you can secretly obtain a top-grade marrow cleansing elixir for me. This matter needs to be kept secret. After you go to the abyss of Wudong, I will secretly give you some pointers. Suyu's heart sank. What he wanted was the one and only top-grade marrow cleansing elixir. This elixir was hard to come by, and Suyu might not have the chance to obtain it. There was only one emergency mission a year. Moreover, he could not take all the credit every time. The Xianyan contest was just around the corner. This top-grade marrow cleansing elixir could be said to be the key elixir to increase Suyu's strength. But if he did not agree, first, his chances of winning the assessment were slim. Second, he would offend the fourth elder. Even if he entered the abyss of Wudong, he would be treated unfairly. Although the abyss of Wudong was about to be overseen by the third elder, the fourth elder still had the authority to deal with Suyu even if he was in the abyss of Wudong. The sudden choice puts Suyu in a dilemma. There is no rush to answer now. Think about it. If you agree, just send me a signal. The fourth elder said warmly. He looked around vigilantly and returned expressionlessly. But as he left, his face suddenly turned gloomy. Suyu, who had thought that he had a 90% chance of success, actually had the intention to resist. Humph, you think you can rely on that ghost-faced woman? The fourth elder's face was gloomy. Suyu sighed in his heart. He could feel that the fourth elder's face was warm, but he was actually angry. If he did not agree, the consequences would be unpredictable. But the Xianyan contest was imminent. Sienna, clenching his teeth, Suyu returned to the competition room. At that moment, the competition began. The competition follows the arena rules. The winner has the right to challenge the next person. After 5 matches, there will be a short break. After saying this, the fourth elder looked at Suyu with a profound gaze. The first arena defender, Ma Faming. The fourth elder appointed an arena defender. Ma Faming was about 23 years old and was a 5th-level lower-tier Holy King. He had broken through half a month ago. Leaping onto the arena, Ma Faming looked around. When his gaze landed on Song Qingshan, his eyes flashed, and he immediately pointed at Song Qingshan. Senior Song, come up and fight. Senior Song, Ma Faming still bears a grudge against you. The disciple beside Song Qingshan sneered. Once, when Ma Faming was still at 4th-level peak, he had accompanied Song Qingshan on a mission and found a spiritual treasure in the mountains. In the end, Song Qingshan had taken it for himself. After handing it over to the faction, Song Qingshan had received many generous rewards and his cultivation level had improved. Ma Faming had always held a grudge against Song Qingshan, but he could not find a chance to take revenge. Only today could he openly challenge Song Qingshan. Song Qingshan curled his lips. Jealousy? Is he worthy? What can a newly advanced 5th-level Holy King do to me? Swoosh! Leaping onto the arena, Song Qingshan stood with his arms crossed, staring coldly at Ma Feiming. Ma Feiming, you dare challenge me? Ma Feiming was a little fearful of the other party's gaze. After all, when he was still a 4th-level Holy King, Song Qingshan was already a veteran 5th-level Holy King. He had carried out countless dangerous missions and was famous. But thinking of the humiliation he had suffered, he harbored resentment. Song Qingshan, that day, you pushed me too far. Don't blame me for not showing mercy. Ma Feiming, am no longer the same as before. You better take me seriously. You're quite confident. Let me see what you're capable of now. Song Qingshan put down his crossed arms, not letting his guard down. Ma Feiming let out a low grunt and immediately attacked. 7 stars illuminating the moon. Ma Feiming let out a low grunt, displaying a legacy-level cultivation technique. Its level had reached stage 1 upper class. Combined with a 5th-level Holy King cultivation level, its power was unfathomable. With each step, a remnant shadow appeared. After 7 steps, 7 remnant shadows appeared one after another. What made people serious was that the 7 remnant shadows were extremely solid. They were shadows that were deliberately created. Every afterimage contained a considerable amount of power. Destroy. After 7 steps, Ma Feiming closed in on him and let out a low grunt. Swoosh! A shocking scene appeared. It was clearly 7 remnant shadows, but at that moment, it was as if they were real. They surrounded Song Qingshan from 7 directions. 7 steps, 7 stars, and 7 remnant shadows surrounded Song Qingshan like stars surrounding the moon. This was the 7 stars illuminating the moon. Rumble. The 7 remnant shadows attacked at the same time. Their attacks were so dense that it was impossible to defend against them. However, Song Qingshan's face was calm. As the 7 remnant shadows attacked, Song Qingshan's lips curled into a faint smile, and he casually extended a finger. Bear Mountain fingerprint. It was clearly an ordinary finger, but it was as if the mountains and rivers were destroyed. A terrifying, deathly stillness surrounded the tip of his finger. Gray air currents flowed, faintly having the power to devour vitality. With one finger, it was as if all living creatures would be devoured. The 3rd elder nodded slightly. Not bad. The remnant of the Bear Mountain fingerprint has been cultivated to stage 1 top class. He is not far from stage 2. The 4th elder nodded lightly. He is indeed extraordinary. Those who do not have a strong physique, even if they do not die, their vitality will be devoured by the gray air currents, and they will faint. Mo Wu and the rest nodded secretly. Among the 5th-level lower-tier Holy Kings, Song Qingshan was indeed one of the best. Rumble. With a sweep of his finger, the gray air currents rolled in all directions. Poochie, Poochie, the 7 afterimages were actually destroyed with a sound. At the same time, Ma Feiming's real body was severely injured. With a scream, he was sent flying and smashed below the arena, almost fainting. Shock and unwillingness filled his eyes. After working so hard for so long, he still could not defeat Song Qingshan. Retracting his finger, Song Qingshan looked down and said disdainfully, "Go back to your mother's womb and train for a few years. Otherwise, you will always be defeated by me." Ma Feiming was furious, but his skills were inferior and he could only leave in humiliation. Then, Song Qingshan's gaze turned cold and fixed on Suyu. The corners of his mouth cracked into a terrifying smile. "Suyu, it's your turn. Let me witness the demeanor of you killing a 5th-level Holy King." Everyone's gaze shot over, landing on the only 4th-level Holy King, Suyu. Several 5th-level Holy Kings were mocking him. It's his turn? I wonder if that expert will suddenly appear and defeat Song Qingshan. Is he finally going to show his true colors? Interesting. Let's see how Senior Song will defeat him. That day, there was clearly an expert secretly helping him, but he waited for his junior to die before coming out to take advantage of the situation. Such a person should have met his end long ago. I hope Senior Song will not show mercy. Feeling the piercing gazes, Suyu's expression was calm as he stepped into the arena. Chapter 155. Song Qingshan stood with his arms crossed, his expression leisurely. Please let me broaden my horizons. However, just as he finished his sentence, he stopped abruptly. His leisurely expression gradually disappeared and was replaced with surprise. Creak! A ball of light gathered at Suyu's fingertip. The deep green and light blue fused, forming a ball of gentle blue and green light. The faint light floated. Looking at it, it was not light, but a flame the size of a thumb. No, it was an ice flame. An ice flame formed from the fusion of green and blue. Although weak, it released a deadly chill that made one's scalp numb. Crack! The sound of ice condensing spread throughout the arena. With Suyu at the center, the cold froze everything. The green arena was instantly covered in ice. Unable to withstand the extreme cold, the arena, which had not cracked after so many battles, actually began to crack densely. The fourth elder's eyes revealed a bewildered expression. This is the third elder who had seen Suyu fight, was deeply surprised. Glazed ice flame, he has cultivated it to stage 1 upper class. What? The difficulty and power of this glazed ice flame is said to be the most powerful legacy, yet he has cultivated it to stage 1 upper class? For this scroll, a person with a high level of perception would need at least 10 years to comprehend stage 1 lower class, and more than 20 years to comprehend stage 1 upper class. He has only been in the sect for a few months, yet he can comprehend stage 1 upper class? Does this level of perception really belong to a human? Mo Wu's pretty eyes were filled with deep doubt. Suyu's perception was so terrifying. The smiles of the 5th level holy kings who were waiting for Suyu to be taught a lesson froze. That terrifying cold chi made them shudder with fear, even though they were below the arena. What kind of ice flame was it to have such terrifying power? On the arena, 10 meters away, Song Qingshan's body was coated with a thin layer of cold mist, gradually turning into ice. His leisurely crossed arms had long been unknowingly put down, concentrating on circulating spirit energy to expel the cold. Just the residual cold energy emitted was already so terrifying if that ice flame were to hit him. Song Qingshan's expression changed like never before, a sliver of the illusion of death clouding his heart. A bad feeling welled up in his heart. At that moment, he was 50% sure that the person who killed the snow lion was Suyu himself. From a beginning to the end, no one had helped Suyu. This was the result of his own hard work. He and those 5th level holy kings were merely jealous and envious, making malicious conjectures and slandering him. However, even if his heart was shaken, Song Qingshan had no way out. Moreover, the flames were too weak. Although their auras were terrifying, their actual power might not be that great. Deliberately mystifying things. Song Qingshan kept his strange expression and remained calm in the face of danger. Barren Mountain fingerprint. With a low roar, Song Qingshan's fingers churned with gray air. The hidden and sinister energy that devoured life caused one's heart to palpitate. Ma Feiming, who was also a 5th level holy king, was defeated by this move. Whoosh! Song Qingshan took the initiative to attack. Moving as fast as lightning, he covered a distance of 20 feet with a single step. The distance of 10 meters was covered in the blink of an eye. A strong gust of wind, mixed with gray air currents, blew up Suyu's damaged clothes. His silver hair fluttered, sweeping across that handsome and calm face. A pair of eyes that were as tranquil as autumn water, without a single ripple. It was only when the gray finger attacked him that Suyu took a step forward. Glazed ice flame, Suyu said calmly. The weak ice flame on his fingertip was like a candle flickering in the wind, about to be extinguished. But the moment the two fingers came into contact, creak, the weak ice flame that was clearly the size of a thumb instantly exploded 100 times larger. Like a spark, it suddenly became the size of a house. It was sudden and violent, powerful and terrifying. It contained an endless amount of cold energy, like a volcano that had been suppressed for a long time, finally erupting. Crack, crack, the endless cold energy descended, freezing everything in the surroundings. The fifth-level Holy Kings who were closer to the arena suddenly changed their expressions and quickly retreated. Those who hesitated for a moment were covered in ice, almost frozen on the spot. The third elder and the fourth elder could not help but remind everyone retreat. Walala, the crowd was like a tide, retreating one after another, staring in bewilderment at the volcanic eruption of cold energy. Not only the arena, but the entire competition room had fallen into a world of ice and snow. A thick layer of white ice descended upon the competition room. Ice spikes hung from the roof. The ground was covered in a thick layer of ice. The seats turned into ice sculptures, and the martial arts tools turned into ice. The shocking cold energy caused the entire place to turn into an ice sculpture in an instant. Even taking a breath would make one feel unbearably cold. And the source of all this was the shocking, cold energy. The 6 zhang tall burning ice flame rumbled and rolled. The bluish-green color was magnificent and dreamy, releasing the beauty that belonged to ice. Suyu stood within the 60-foot ice flame, as if he was the supreme ruler of all ice in the world. In front of him, an ice sculpture maintained an attacking state. His gaze, expression, and posture were all frozen. Even the gray air current was frozen. It was as if he had been frozen in time and space. Suyu slowly lowered his finger. He did not feel much of a sense of accomplishment for easily killing Song Qingshan with one finger. That day inside the snow lion's body, Suyu had crazily absorbed a large amount of the snow lion's icy blue energy, finally pushing the glazed ice flame to stage 1 upper class. The power of the most powerful legacy-level cultivation technique was enough for Suyu to control the power to kill a 5th-level Holy King. Even someone as strong as Li Xiaowei had decisively escaped, showing his fear of this cultivation technique. Calmly looking at the frozen Song Qingshan, Suyu kicked him down. Crack! The ice shattered. Song Qingshan trembled all over, his face turning green. His entire body was stiff as he lay on the ground, looking at Suyu in fear. He had been defeated in one move. No, he had almost been killed in one move. If this had been a life and death battle, he would have been easily killed by Suyu. Suyu had obtained a series of merits, not because of the help of the second elder, but because he himself had the power to kill a 5th-level Holy King. Calmly glancing at him, Suyu shook his head slightly. This is the ability that you are so proud of, the ability to bully others? How disappointing. Song Qingshan's face turned red, feeling humiliated. But in front of Suyu, the fear of being killed with a flick of his finger made him unable to refute. He lowered his head and left in a hurry. The fourth elder's eyes were filled with deep shock. The glazed ice flame is so powerful. In terms of power, it has already surpassed a normal stage 1 top-class legacy level, and is infinitely close to stage 2. This matter needs to be reported to the faction master. The power of the glazed ice flame may have been underestimated. Its power is beyond imagination. The third elder's eyes were burning. Everyone in the faction knew of the existence of the glazed ice flame, but no one was willing to spend decades to cultivate a remnant of the manual. Today, Suyu had revealed its terrifying power for the first time, shocking the elders' knowledge and causing them to pay unprecedented attention to this cultivation technique. On the arena, it was Suyu's turn to guard the arena. There had already been 2 battles. Suyu could still challenge 3 people. Suyu ignored the shocked gazes of the crowd, raised his hand, and pointed at a 5th-level lower tier Holy King. This person was the 5th-level Holy King who had slandered Suyu and deliberately waited for his disciple to die, and came out to take advantage of the situation. Since it was a challenge, then naturally, he would be the first to be challenged. You come up. The body of the 5th-level Holy King that was pointed at trembled, and he swallowed hard. Among the 5th-level lower tier Holy Kings, Song Qingshan, who was at the top, had been defeated, let alone them. But even if they were afraid, they could only go up to the arena. Su. Junior Su, I am Punan. This is a duel. I hope that you will restrain yourselves to avoid harming the harmony. Bracing himself, the fifth-level Holy King said with some fear. Punan's face was slightly flushed. Once upon a time, in his eyes, Suyu was a person who could not withstand a single blow. At this moment, he had to put down his pride and beg Suyu to be merciful. Sure, Suyu said indifferently. These words made Punan feel slightly relieved. Thank you. Punan cupped his fists and then solemnly waited. Meteor kick. Punan growled and took the lead to attack. With long strides, his speed was extremely fast. People could only see an afterimage and could not distinguish where the real body was. At the same time, Punan was surrounded by faint starlight, making it even more difficult to distinguish the real body. In an instant, Punan's attack arrived. Boom! The shadow of the leg attacked, and he was officially fighting with Suyu. Glazed ice flame. However, Suyu calmly pointed out a weak ice flame, and indeed, it did not erupt. It was just lightly pointed at the sole of Punan's foot. Crack! But even so, Punan's whole body was stiff, his whole body icy cold. The attack of the leg was actually frozen on the spot. Seeing that he was about to stumble and fall, Suyu reached out and grabbed Punan's calf. Thank you, junior brother Su. Punan was grateful that Suyu was really merciful. However, as soon as his voice fell, he noticed that something was wrong. Suyu grabbed his calf and swung him into the air. It was as if Suyu was holding a stick and swinging it in his hand. Junior brother Su, what are you doing? Punan was horrified in midair. However, Suyu did not answer. With a flip of his wrist, he grabbed Punan's calf and slammed it into the ground. Boom! Puff! Punan's forehead was full of blood, several of his teeth were knocked out, and his internal organs were shaken. Blood wrapped around his broken teeth and sprayed out together. The severe pain stimulated Punan, making him very ashamed and angry. He turned his head and shouted, "You!" However, as soon as his voice fell, his whole body was once again swung by Suyu and then slammed into the bluestone floor. Then another blow. Then another blow. Below the arena, everyone was stunned. Suyu was like a dead dog, swinging Punan in a circle in the air and then slamming him into the ground. Round after round, until Punan was covered in blood and completely passed out. At this time, Suyu stopped and threw him out of the arena like a dead dog. Bang! Like a dead dog, the unconscious Punan made everyone suck in a cold breath. What a cruel heart. People need to be responsible for what they say. Using a dead fellow disciple to fabricate slanderous words to attack others. They should be severely punished. Suyu said coldly. Then, Suyu's eyes swept over and fell on the second, fifth-level Holy King. You, come up. Suyu pointed from afar. This person had mocked Suyu and revealed his true colors. At this moment, Suyu had indeed revealed his true colors, but what he revealed was a cruel heart and an absolutely crushing, terrifying strength. I admit, the person who had been pointed at jumped onto the arena, trembling with fear, cupped his hands, and prepared to admit defeat. Although the quota for the Abyss of Wudong was extremely precious, Punan was still lying on the ground like a dead dog. However, before he could finish his words, a gust of wind struck. Surprisingly, it was Suyu approaching. Glazed ice flame. Then Suyu did the same and swung the stiff Punan up. Bang, bang, bang. Everyone's expressions changed slightly. Suyu once again swung the dead dog with ease. Once, twice, thrice, until his whole body was covered in blood, he threw him like a dead dog beside Punan. Compared to Punan, Suyu was merciful and did not make him faint. However, the one covered in blood was extremely angry and ashamed. You, I have already admitted defeat. Why did you still attack? Suyu asked, did you admit defeat? When? Why didn't I know? Puff! He was so angry that he spat out another mouthful of blood. He had not finished speaking when Suyu deliberately interrupted him. If you don't say it clearly, how do I know you admit defeat? Suyu glanced at him and pointed to the last person among the three. You, come up. I give up. I will not participate in the abyss of Wutong assessment. The last person was pale and trembling. He screamed and fled on the spot. 5 rounds had passed, and Suyu had won 4 rounds in a row, earning 20 points. During the intermission, Suyu was once again called out by the 4th elder to talk to him alone. What do you think? There's only one chance. The 4th elder's eyes were bright. He had a strong obsession with the top-grade marrow cleansing elixir. Feeling the faint pressure, Suyu's heart was heavy. If he did not give it, it would be difficult to pass the assessment. Even if he passed, he would be treated with difficulty. Taking a deep breath, Suyu's eyes flashed. I have thought about it.